Hi there, and welcome to Real Talk with Angry Soccer Mom. This week's discussion topics, as always, are anything you feel is newsworthy about racism, bigotry, and inequality in America. And it's kind of a lot. So sorry I'm late coming on. I couldn't get my act together, but I'm glad to see a couple people here. If you are here, please say hello, because I'm going to need lots of participation from my friends who are watching today, because we got some serious topics to talk about. So let us get started. And Vernon, hello. Yay, I'm so happy you're here. Pat, awesome. Thanks for Anton. I knew that was you. The minute I saw it, you get tracked by YouTube every time and it stops it, so I have to press on it. Thanks so much for being here. We're going to get into a bunch of topics that are kind of scary, but we got some scary stuff going on in this country. Lakeisha, hi, welcome. Clary, hello, welcome to the show. The show is meant to be an opportunity for viewers to speak their mind. You're the viewers. And who are you looking at? Me? Nobody. Hi, hey, Moppy. I'm not looking at anybody. Me? But maybe tell me more, Pat. What do you mean? You're funny. No, my picture's over there, so I can't see anybody. I just see some hands waving. But anyway, it's supposed to be for an opportunity for viewers to speak their mind, but also as an educational tool for white folks and anyone who wants to learn more about systemic racism in America. So before I introduce myself, I wanted to wish everyone a happy Juneteenth, and I hope everyone's had a good day. I hope some people have been able to celebrate. And Benjamin, thanks for being here. Hello. I'm thrilled to have everybody. This is an audience participation show. So my friends who are watching need to participate. So definitely say hi. Lakeisha, the reparations hearing with Mitch McConnell's bigotry towards us getting financial reparations. Yes, that was kind of disgusting. But you know what? I really expected nothing less of him. So it was kind of like, I don't know. It was like, yeah, sounds like somebody who knows pretty much nothing about our social, racial history. But Claire, did you watch the hearings on reparations today? Oh, yes. I watched a lot of different things on them. And I am going to talk about that in a few minutes. That's a great question. And the last thing we have for today is your thoughts on reparations. And I'm going to really, really ask you guys to get involved and tell me what you think. I have a couple of less interesting topics, but definitely tell me what you think, because let me just try to make this a little bigger. Now I can see. The topics I have for tonight are Happy Juneteenth, which a lot of people might not really know what that is. So I'm going to quickly go over it, and I want to hear from you what you think. Oh, Pat, you said it's like something had my attention. I don't know. That's weird. Maybe I was like spacing out. No, I'm just looking at the screen and questions and a little cheat sheet, but that's it. Yeah, I watched a lot, and another topic I want to talk about tonight, if everyone's game, is our missing Black girls in America, and a little bit about the war in Iran. The problems we're having with Iran. I didn't say war. And then reparations is huge. It's been like 10 years since we've actually brought it to the table. And I don't know if they're just playing or, it is a really weird time in our history because of Trump. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, I always start with a rant, and then we'll go into our subject matter. And if you have a different topic other than those four, jump in and we'll talk about it whenever you want. But those four, I'm going to try to keep it a little bit of order so I don't get confused. So my rant is kind of off the cuff today, but I got to say, I had a little bit of a PTSD, I don't know, flashback. I caught a glimpse of Trump's kickoff to his next campaign, for his running for president in Florida. Did you guys see that? Did anybody see the people who were there and stuff? I just got every negative emotion in my body that came out. I felt sick. I felt betrayed. I felt helpless. I felt really angry. I'll be honest. I don't know what's wrong with me. But something's definitely wrong with me. I'm a white person, okay? And, well, okay, I guess I'm like more than white. I'm like so white. Oh, I'll answer your questions, Clary, in just a minute. And thank you so much. I needed that so much tonight. Thank you. You are so sweet, Clary. Oh yeah, I saw the MAGA people. I always call them magma people. I was like, stupid of me. Ugh. But so what happened was I saw that, and I don't know what's wrong with me. And I'm not trying to be funny. Something is definitely not right about me, because I'm supposed to be this white person who, you know, I'm not at the poverty level. I have a lot of privilege. So I should be like all the other white people, like not all the other, but a lot of the other. I mean, we have Trump, so a lot of damn white people liked him, and enough, you know, they sold their soul for racism and stuff. So what I don't get is, like, I'm not fine. I should be fine, but I'm not fine. Stevie, thank you for being here. Yay. I'm not fine because, oh, Anton, it's the cops and the government, organ harvesting. Oh yeah. Well, and I need your help on that, because I could not find anything on the organ harvesting, like, and I was really trying. So if you know anything, post up, because I want to explore that, because at this point I don't put anything past our government. But anyway, so what I was going to say is I'm going to go back to answer some questions. And Clary, thanks for asking all those questions. I love talking about myself, you know. But I feel like something's wrong with me. I've felt that way since I was like 6 years old. I can't take this. I think we have the greatest Constitution in the world. I know the downsides to what we've done. We've done horrific crimes against humanity. We've done all these things. But we have a Constitution that, if we could somehow just stick to that plan, I guess what I'm trying to say is, I know we're better than this. We have to be better than this. I don't mean better like superior. I mean, we started out in America like, oh, you know, we had a lot of problems, but this great country who has this wonderful Constitution and the idea of self-governing and not having a king. And then we kind of let it get to our heads. We're like, yeah, we're great. And it's like, wait a second, like a couple hundred years later, we're actually not great. And, you know, we kind of rested on our laurels, I guess, thinking, oh, we did this cool Constitution thing. Well, you know, I just think we can do better. So a lot of people think I'm like this big hater of white people. I don't hate white people. Oh my God, I do not hate white people at all. And I'm so sorry if that's how it comes across. I actually believe in white people. I believe in all people. And I know we're better than this, in the sense that we can be more humane. We can talk about these things. We can learn about these things. We don't have to hate and make, you know, just desensitize ourselves to the cruelties and make people, you know, seem like they're not even human just because we want to do something rotten to them. I just know we're better than this. So anyway, I don't hate white people, just to let you know. It's never been about politics for me. I'm not even a Democrat. I mean, you know, I just don't understand how anyone could support this monster in the White House. The sick, barbaric treatment of our fellow humans. I don't get it. I don't understand their cruelty, and I don't understand how people can do this to our fellow humans. So I don't know, maybe I was born in the wrong time and place. Thomas, hello. Thank you for being here. Yay. I don't know, but like, I know most people who are my friends who are watching are so supportive of stuff, but shouldn't there be more? I just don't get it. So anyway, am I hurt? Yes. Do I wish Americans white folks would learn our real racial history? Yes. Do I wish that white folks understood how our government caused inner city poverty? Yes. Do I wish white people would understand that systemic racism is saturated in every institution we have? That would be a yes. And, oh, Lakeisha, they hate us for being God's chosen people. I just don't get it. And I'm supposed to be white, so I need to get this. But I've been working my whole life and I'm kind of old. And I don't, like some things, you know, you can kind of see with someone, I've drawn a blank, and maybe that's what's drawn me to just, I have to figure why these people do it. And these people, I love these people, but I hate their behavior. They're killing me. They're killing me personally. I mean, it's not about me, obviously, but I mean, it's just what they do to my fellow humans it's a crime against humanity. I truly believe that systemic racism is a crime against humanity. It's, you know, not like all at once in 5 seconds, but over time and with, anyway. So teaching people that they've been lied to and that they were fooled into working against their own interest, which is exactly what systemic racism does. It's not good for white people. We just haven't kind of caught on to that yet. It doesn't mean I hate them. It's just teaching reality. So I have a message for people who insist that my passion and my unwavering anti-bigotry, trying to teach to not be a bigot. People just teach them how to accept others and get to know them. My inequality videos, my writing, my activism. I'm not trying to spew hate. There's something I just don't get, and I have to figure it out. So while it's true, I will not stay silent while my fellow humans are treated horribly. And again, I'm not a savior. I don't want to save anyone. I'm saving myself. I'm saving myself because I can't stand doing nothing. What am I supposed to do? Just sit and watch and do nothing? It's extremely stressful. It's extremely stressful. And I want to use my privilege to the maximum capacity. And I'm not saving people. Black people don't need saving. They're going to save themselves. But I'm going to do my part while I'm here. So I wanted people to understand one thing tonight at the beginning of this, and I promise I'll stop talking, is I might just be so hurt and feel betrayed and upset at my fellow humans who are white, who choose to do nothing, or even worse, choose to be overtly racist and uphold the system or support a man who ran a campaign on making sure and promising and vowing to harm every group in America, even outside of America, every historically marginalized group. He promised it and he's keeping his promise. I don't hate you. I don't get you. I don't like your behavior and what it's doing to the humans that I love. But I would give you the shirt off my back. I'm talking to these people. I would never treat you poorly. I would tell you harshly the truth, like I do. And sometimes I do it really teachingly in my videos, like I'm really kind of nice. And when I first started, I was really, really nice and nobody looked at them. And then I got a little bit more fierce and then everyone's looking. So, some of them are kind of in your face. But someone asked me the other day, what would you do if Trump was on a ledge falling off a cliff? I'd save him in a heartbeat. I don't let people set my standards for morality and being a good person. In a heartbeat. If he was cold, I'd give him a jacket. If he was thirsty, I'd give him water. I would never allow other standards to take over and my upset, me being upset to harm anybody. If I had a baseball team, I would make sure that because he has like a lot of narcissism, I would make sure that I went out of my way to work against being mean to him. I would work really hard to fight my very strong implicit bias. So I might think he's evil, but I would never take action to hurt anybody. So my speech is done. And now I get to go back and actually be quiet and listen. So welcome everybody. And I will answer your questions. Hello to Pat. Hello, Anton. And hi, Lakeisha and Clary. I'm so happy to have you here. And hello, Pat. Who are you looking at? I already answered that. Nobody. I'm over there. Now I'm looking at me. I was observing myself in the mirror. No, it's that way. And Benjamin, and I can't see well tonight, Lakeisha. Yes, the reparations hearing, we're going to talk about that. And Pat, already talked to you about that. Question from Clary. Did I watch the hearings of reparations? If so, what are your thoughts? I'm definitely going to get into that. My initial thoughts are, they don't, I mean, for the love of God, you know, the answers that Mitch McConnell gave, I mean, it's embarrassing. He hasn't even known his own racial history, and he's in government. So I'm not holding my breath. I mean, he didn't know that, and he actually said it in front of the whole world. Oh my God, I was so embarrassed for him, because that's a classic. That's what he said is a classic cliche denial of racism. It's like, racism doesn't, it's pointing out racism in our real history doesn't mean I don't like white people. It means that's our history, and I'm not living a lie with them. He is disillusioned. So we'll talk more about it. I couldn't believe it. I was so embarrassed for him, kind of, I guess you could say. I was like, oh my God, he did not say that. He did not say that. He said that. Claire, have you always been enlightened in regards to race issues? When did you become woke? I love your channel. Yay, of course, I'll read that. I love your channel. Thank you so much. I'm not perfect, and I make mistakes and I always will till the day I die. But what I have done is I've vowed to take my ego and drop it at the door. And yeah, I feel like crap if I think I said something that, is taken the wrong way, or something I haven't thought about that, yeah, actually that is kind of racist. But that's my whole big thing. My big part is to every single day learn and grow. And kind of scary. Every day I learn something new historically that, white folks have done to Black people, African-American people, brown people, indigenous people. And it doesn't make me hate them. It just makes me think, wow, did we have our history hidden? Because I always think oh, I know stuff now. No, it's going to be a lifetime. And I'm ready to take on the challenge. I mean, I actually like learning new things. It's just kind of crazy because I learn new things every day, and I've been doing this a while. But I'm not really answering your question. I was not raised around Black people at all. In fact, I won't get too into it because I love talking about me. But I was raised in the era of color blindness, where my parents were I never heard them say a racial slur in my entire life, nor my grandparents. So I never heard any of that. I was extremely sheltered. I was very well off with my parents. And everybody who was in my neighborhood and at my school were all the same. They might have been Black, they might have been white, they might have been, Latino, Asian, but everybody was well off. And it made it so that it was more like how rich you were than I knew Black people. I just didn't know they were Black. I didn't ever think twice about it because I was raised in the era of colorblindness. And when I was 6, I started noticing what was going on, and I didn't know what it was. And I thought I was imagining things because I didn't know what Black people were. I didn't know what brown. I just saw a certain set of people being hurt and treated horrifically. And my mom pretended it wasn't happening. She didn't say, oh my gosh, if you see a dog in the street, or if you see somebody hurt, they fell down and they need our help, they're bleeding. She ignored it. So anyway, I could go on, and I'd love to talk about it because it's in one of my videos. I talk about my first not understanding, and it was traumatic because I kept looking back, and it was a Black man, and he was homeless. And now I know, but I was 6. I didn't know. And he needed us. I could tell he needed us. He needed somebody's help. And so I was going to go up to him. And I've told this story before, so people, I hope I'm not boring you. I was going to go up to him because this is my idea when I was 6. Okay. I would go up to him and tell him I didn't know he was Black, but I knew something was different about him, and that he needed somebody. And so I thought I would go up to him and tell him I would be his friend. And so I turned around, and my mom's dragging me shopping, and I looked at him, and nobody noticed him. And I looked at him, and I realized he was afraid of me too. And I was completely like, I'm not going up to him. He's afraid of me. I was a kid, a little kid. And that just hit me really hard. And I forgot about it. And then when I was around 12, nobody explained it. I was 12. I got a little rude awakening because I had a boyfriend who was Japanese first generation. And I didn't know anything about that. I just liked him, you know? And of course, my parents, okay, I admit they let me date probably a little too young, but we went out for 4 years and his mother hated my guts. And I didn't know why. I mean, hated me. And he told me about Japanese internment camps. I never knew about that. And that was it. I started writing for the school paper. I was like, I had to know what this thing was. I just had to. And then when I was 18, I swear I'm going to stop talking. When I was 18, I got really lucky. I went to a college that had somebody who was trained by Jane Elliott, who did the blue eyes, brown eyes experiment and the 50s and 60s, 50s. I'm not sure. And I was like, oh my God, this is a thing. I was like, and I found my place. So I switched my major to, they call it like ethnic studies. It was basically multicultural studies. And I went nuts. And that's the story of my life. So, thank you for asking. You are so sweet. I don't know. Let me see. Oh, and my dad did share with me Martin Niemöller's, what he used to say. He's the pastor, the German pastor who Hitler hated and took as a prisoner, who regretted not doing enough before the Holocaust started and Nazi Germany took over. He said the intellectuals knew what was going on. They saw it and they did nothing. He talked to his students later and said things like, first they came for the trade unionists. I wasn't a trade unionist, so I did nothing. Next, they came for the next set of people. I wasn't a part of there. And then they came for me and there was nobody left to care or help. And that really hit me. He taught that to me at a very young age. And that hit me. But other than that, I have no clue. So no, I was not born woke. I was born like completely out of it. Completely. Let me see. Yeah, Lakeisha, I saw those. Oof. There were some bad guys there. Yeah, okay, Anton, it's the cops and the government, organ harvesting, and they're really stealing our melon, the real fourth missing Black people. Okay, it's extremely scary because I've been actually reading stuff about that lately, but nothing that I can say, nothing from papers that I can say are the most, I have to go with like the best sources. So I'm still going to try to do something on that because that's just terrifying. And I absolutely believe it. I don't know if you guys heard the thing in China. There was allegations that Chinese prisoners were having that done. I did not look into it. So, but Clary, do you have relatives who are Black? I never did have relatives who are Black, but my parents have these, they just had friends from everything. So they never talked to me about it. But I thought it was normal. My parents had Black friends. My parents had friends from India, first generation. My parents, and I just thought that's what people do. So when I first encountered the real racism, it was a shock. Like I wasn't I was kept sheltered enough to be like, oh my God, they don't like them because of why? Like, it's like sometimes it's cool to be stupid, not ignorant. I was like, that's incredible. And it never kind of like normalized. But then when I got to be older, my family adopted a little girl. I call her my midlife crisis. I have 2 Tommy babies and we wanted a 3rd child. And we decided I've always, since I was 5 years old, I heard about adoption and I wanted to adopt. So we went to, you go back and forth and you search your soul of what you want to do, what you don't, it's a tough thing. You got to be really honest. It's a very personal thing. And we just knew we wanted to adopt a child who was impoverished. And we couldn't adopt in the US. So we adopted outside the US and we started with Guatemala. And we got shut down because our president insulted their president and his outgoing wish was to get rid of their relationship. So we lost the child that we were going to adopt. And then we switched to Ethiopia. And that child didn't make it because the father came out of prison and said he wasn't going to pay for his kid, but he didn't want his kid to be adopted. So we lost that child. And then we finally got a little girl who is the love of my life. And she's my baby. So yes, I can say I have an Ethiopian American child, and she is seriously the love of my life. I got so lucky. I want her to be like the poster kid and she came from very, very rough. They didn't know she was going to make it. I am very, very much a person who has strong opinions on white people who choose to adopt, non-white kids. There is a huge shortage of people who will adopt non-white kids. And it's heartbreaking because these kids deserve to have homes all over the United States and everywhere. But people are racist. They don't get it. It's just weird. And we ended up getting our little girl, and you could not shut me up. She's amazing. And I had a few stipulations before I adopted her because of all the issues with adoption. And I was that person who demanded that I see her birth mother and hear her relinquish her child to adoption on camera. And I know that sounds rotten and cruel, but over my dead body was I'm going to take somebody's kid, because I know sometimes there's corruptions, and I was like, I'm not playing that game. So that was me. That's probably the most personal thing I've ever told anybody on this. But as a mom, I had my 2 children, and over my dead body was I going to be, accidentally, of course, a part of any of that. No. So and it's kind of rare. The person was a little bit surprised. Her mom was not surprised. It was the agency said, well, we've never had that request, but they honored it. Because I don't know if you guys have studied all that stuff, but it's terrifying. And it only takes one case to just, it's awful. But anyway, enough about me. We're not going to make this whole show about me. Let me see. Oh, Lakeisha, Mitch is playing dumb. Is he playing dumb? Or is he, that was embarrassing. Dang, you think he's playing dumb? See, I don't know much about him. He really hasn't been a household name. Gee, I wonder why. That's bad. Moppy, reparations will be hard, will be hand over peaceful, or they will be taken by force. Yeah, that's, we'll definitely get into that. I understand that you feel that way. I don't blame you one bit. Lakeisha, Moppy, you're right. War. Pat, the history, yeah. The people who are in charge of our country, the 1% elite wealthy people, are not going to give up their white supremacy without a fight. And that's just common sense. It's pathetic and it's sick. But yeah, if that's kind of what you're saying, they're not going to hand over anything. They love their status. And unfortunately, there are some very well-meaning but incredibly naive and ignorant white folks who refuse to learn that they're fighting against their own. They're basically fighting for the bad guys. By being racist is not in their best interest. But they don't get it, so it's really sad. Pat, the history was well hidden here in America. The average person doesn't know about why the Statue of Liberty was sent to America, and its real color was a beautiful bronze woman that signified freeing of slaves here in America. Yep. Thank you, Pat. Thank you. It's unbelievable. Stuff like that. Every day I learn, like one thing I learned, and this is like about a year ago, people are always saying, Black people, they just didn't even try to, and this is in the history books because they're all whitewashed and lies or half truths, or just, they didn't even try to revolt. I'm like, are you kidding me? I read some academic articles about a year ago. Oh, they tried to revolt. They did everything in their human power to keep their humanity. I'm talking things you would not believe. I was reading it like almost in tears. I was so like, the human spirit, they tried to break those people, and yet Black people whose ancestors were forced into an enslaved status survived and thrive. So it's just not true. I read so much about it, and I try to like dispel the lies and the myths. I just want us to know our real history. I didn't do it, you didn't do it, but it's still our history. So we need to be honest, because if we can't be honest, how are we going to ever, if we can't even admit what our history was, how are we going to ever come to terms with what it was so that we can move on? We still have systemic racism. We're at pre-64 levels of racial segregation. If we won't even talk about it, I mean, so anyway, Pat, thank you for that. That's fantastic. Neil, I'm glad you're here. It's okay. I've just been blabbing about myself. Oh, Lakeisha. She is just turned 11 a couple days ago. She's 11 years old. And I picked her up from the airport. And I told you I talk about myself. I'm so bad. And she couldn't walk because she was in the orphanage there for so long, and they're so lovely to the babies, but they have a lot of them, so they can't really give them a lot of attention. So she didn't walk yet, even though she was just about 1 ± 2. She walked right up. She didn't walk. They held her hands, and she went right up to me, and it was surreal. And she just came right in my arms, and she just melted in me. And oh my God, don't make me cry on this channel. So she's 11. She turned 11 a couple days ago. Mr. FS Black, hello. I'm glad you and the child found each other, and she has a loving home now. With so much corruption, she could have ended up anywhere. Oh, yeah. Thank you. That's really sweet of you. I'll never be perfect. I'll never be able to make up for not being a Black parent, and I know that. But I'm going to try my whole life, and I'll never let her be alone. I'll do everything I can to make sure she knows that she's beautiful and wonderful. And she's already educated, like, because she sees what I do. I don't hide it from her. Some stuff when it's not age appropriate, but she needs to know that we get this, and that we got her back, and that we're going to help her become strong so she can feel good about herself. And so far she is doing great. And also one of the things, and I could do a whole session on this, one of the really important things for me is to not, this is going to sound so weird, as the white person, not let my hangups push onto her. That's really hard. She is an innocent little girl and happy, and it's really hard to let her be her and not push my own hang up, my own. Obviously I see the world, I'm an adult, and it's scary, but she's really happy. So it's a really interesting. I read a couple books on it, and I think so far so good. The teenage years, I've already gone through that twice with my other 2 kids. I can't answer to that. That's just going to be crazy. But she's wonderful. Thank you so much, Mr. Black. Thank you. Thomas, the Statue of Liberty also had a broken shackle at her feet to signify the abolishment of slavery. Yeah, great call. I'm going to look, and I told Pat I would do this, but of course I haven't really slept yet, but I'm definitely going to look into that. Great point, Thomas. Thanks. Lakeisha, hey, Kim, watch Dark Knight Rides, watch the movie. Tell me what it's telling you. It's on YouTube full movie. Okay, I will try. Oh my gosh, I have to steal time away to do all this. There's so many things. The Netflix miniseries, I have a confession. I know I've read a ton about the Central Park 5 case, which actually they don't really want to be called that anymore. I was told, but or like they ever wanted to be called that. But I read so much about that for so long, and I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose it. I don't think I'm ready. Like, I'm just going to wait. And I know a lot of people are doing that, and I know that's a very privileged thing to do, but I know what happens. I did 3 videos on that. I know what's happening, and when I see it, I won't be able to handle it. I mean, I'm going to be I'll be wrecked. Okay, because I know, I'm just saying. So I have to admit, I haven't seen it yet, but I just can't bear it right now. That's all. So, I had the hardest thing I ever did was doing the Emmett Till video. That was, I don't want to talk about it even though it's on my YouTube channel, but I don't want to talk about it. Let me see. But thank you, Lakeisha. You always give me great things to try to do, and I will try to make time for it. I have so many things on my list, but I appreciate it. Mr. F.S. Black, anyone who says that Black people didn't try to revolt against chattel slavery needs to look up Nat Turner, yep, or the Haitian Revolution. Oh, yeah, I mean, but it's so whitewashed. It's disgusting. It's like the history books come out of Texas, out of a hub in Texas. No offense, Texas, but not exactly known for being a state that's, you know, friendly to non-Caucasian, I guess, whatever. And they are not honest. And by high school, I'm sorry, as a teacher, I truly believe that by high school, because of the culture that we live in, they need to be honest and, you know, maybe not teach them in first grade, but they need to know, we need to know our real racial history. And we need to be taught it, not in a defensive way. It's our history. You didn't do it, but we're here now. So, and we know about it. So let's care. That's all. I just think people need to care. Let me see. Yes, totally. Nat Turner. In fact, I have a friend who goes by Nat Turner, and he's amazing. He's an amazing man. Robert, did you know the real Lone Ranger was Bass Reeves? Bass Reeves was the first Black deputy U.S. Marshal west of Mississippi River. You know what? I will look that up, definitely. Because as I was telling Pat, my newest video that's not out yet is going to be the top 10 things that most white folks don't know about our real racial history. And I've done 2 of those already, but this one is going to have things that, I mean, I just keep learning new things I keep learning new things, so I keep adding to it. But I got to get my button gear. That could be another one. Every day I learn something. And I write it down on my little pad to do my research. Pat, the white supremacists changed the whole appearance of the statue. Yeah, that's unbelievable. My kids studied that. I studied that. Not a word. Same thing about the nickel. Pat, that you taught me about the nickel. It's not in my kids' books, and it wasn't in mine. There's our country has some dark secrets. And because we are so against speaking kind of objectively and just saying it like it is, we really aren't coming to terms with what we need to do. And how are we going to get systemic racism out of our nation if we won't even talk about it or we won't even admit the atrocities. We won't even admit what's happening now. And so many people are like blind to it and they're in denial of it. And we got issues. Like, I need to tell you that we have some issues, and it's terrifying. I'm really scared. Like I say in every show, I'm very scared for our nation, because you know what happens to democratic republics who don't stay in check. There's 2 ways to go, and the one way is not good, and that's a regime dictatorship. And that is pretty much, like I need to tell you, pretty much looks where we might be too late. So it's the uneducated populace is the best thing for that. So anyway, I don't want to go on a rant. Robert, thank you for that. That was awesome. Pat. Nope, I did you too. I got to get with it. Lakeisha, the woman who was the victim, never acknowledged the Central Park 5 for the false imprisonment mistake that the state of New York sent them to prison. Yeah, part of her, the woman who is you're talking about the victim. And that was a little, I believe you're talking about the victim of the actual crime. The kids didn't do it. I mean, and you know that. There was an exact match, for people who don't know, an exact match of DNA to the man who said he did it. Okay. But unfortunately, the woman who was the jogger in the case, which I feel like they shouldn't have released her name. I thought that was kind of, she doesn't remember a thing. She does not remember a thing. but that doesn't mean that she can't read a case. And I don't know if she had, horrific, what type of cognitive damage she had. Her recovery was nothing short of a miracle. But she never, let me see, I want to read what Lakeisha is saying here. The woman who is, Lakeisha, the rape victim never apologized for the mistake. Are you talking about to the men now that the men were older? Yeah, I don't know what their relationship was. I don't. Obviously, any human with a heart would be devastated that, you're the victim of a crime and they put the wrong people in prison. For the love of God, that's just heartbreaking beyond human understanding. I don't get that. And I can't speak to that. I've never been a victim of a crime like that, but human common sense would dictate that you just be beside yourself. So that's troubling. I'd have to read more about it. I really just don't know much about it because I know that she was, she has no memory of it, but she definitely was around for all this stuff. So I don't really know, but yeah, that is it's really troubling. But I honestly don't know enough about it to say something, because whenever I say something about something that sounds like, oh, that's awful, there's always circumstances that I find out like, oh my God, don't talk if you don't know something about it. And when I say know something, I mean really know something. So I'll say I don't know much about it, like even though I might know like a little bit about it. Hard to explain. But anyway, yeah, I kind of knew that. I read that and I don't understand. Pat, yes, that's right. This is why they won't put anyone that is Black on the money at all. Well, they won't. Right? They won't put anyone who's Black on the money because our nation's just racist as fuck. I mean, I'm just saying that's right. But I mean, it's just another way to be racist. It's like I didn't even know there was that many ways, like different varieties of ways. But there is. So I have a question for everybody. Tell me if you, and this is not like judging you, did you guys, anyone celebrate Juneteenth? The 19th of June, which is today. If you did, tell me what you did, tell me what you think, and tell me if you knew about this. Because I'm going to talk about it really briefly, and I want to know what you think. And honestly, I haven't met a white person who knows about it yet. So online I did, but not in person. So I was kind of bummed. But I'm just going to really briefly, June 19th, and please tell me if you knew about it, what you did, what you do, if you have kids, what you teach them, I just want to know, because it's really important that you tell me your reality. June 19th marks a special celebration in communities around the United States. It's called Juneteenth, and a combination of June and 19th, and this is what it was definitely set up for. The holiday recognizes when the United States ended its historic practice of slavery legally and in the real world. But here's the problem. It's not exactly 100% accurate. It's a lovely idea, and I get it. I totally get it. And it's not my place to say it's only for the person who is living in that group. It's not my place to say like, we shouldn't celebrate, we should, whatever. But a lot of people feel like it's important to commemorate and celebrate. A lot of people don't. So it's totally not my place to say yay or nay, but I will tell you what it was or what it is. The reason it's not actually accurate is because we don't have real equality. So it's like, yay, we freed you and we said you were going to be a real person just like us, and we're not letting you. So, I mean, it's kind of a bunch of bullshit, to be honest, in that sense. But supposedly in the day, that is what people did. And part of the thing is this. It's just not accurate because all slavery wasn't really ended, and it still isn't. They were never really freed. Definitely, what do we think the school to prison pipeline and basically the mass incarceration is? The 13th Amendment didn't free all slaves. It just freed them if they weren't imprisoned. And a lot of white folks don't know that. I think the idea is great to not allow whitewashed history to set the date, but actually real history to set the date. But that's a very personal thing. I don't feel like we have equality, not even close. So to say free, I mean, sure, it's just a different kind of, I mean, systemic racism is don't get me started, but yeah, let me read what you guys say. So in the sense that Juneteenth is the day of commemorating supposedly freedom for all living people in the United States. So how did this get started? Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, obviously. It was intended, many were told, to free all slaves. But in August 1862, President Lincoln wrote an open letter to an editor in the New York Tribune, describing his actions as intended to preserve the Union rather than abolish slavery. And I'll never be in his head, and no one else will be. And I haven't read a ton of his stuff, but this will always be kind of a thing that, you know, people like to say, be A and Z about stuff and history, but who knows? Who knows really, you know, maybe he was saying this and meaning that. I mean, politics didn't start in the United States. You know, people have always been politicians. So he wrote this: my paramount objective is this struggle is to save the Union and is not either to save or destroy slavery. This is his quote. If I could save the Union without freeing any slave, I would do it. And if I could save the Union with freeing all slaves, I would do it. And if I could save it by freeing some and leaving others alone, I would do that too. Now, what do I do about slavery? And this is antiquated. The colored race, he said. Sorry about the antiquated language. I do because I believe it helps to save this Union. So Lincoln was famous for his honesty. I don't know if that was just a joke or, you know, kind of, but that's pretty damn honest. He clearly viewed the Emancipation Proclamation as kind of a political tool to keep the nation together, and liberation was maybe a secondary or tertiary, or I don't know, because I'm not in his heart. Lincoln's 1863 Emancipation Proclamation declared that all persons held as slaves within the rebellious states are henceforth shall be free. Well, this didn't mean that it only applied to the states that had seceded from the Union. So it was leaving slavery intact for the border states and under southern states. So the promise of the abolishment of slavery was contingent on the Union winning, and that didn't happen until 1865. So that's the history of Juneteenth. But even after that, the Union had to enforce the emancipation. And we know how that went. It started actually in Texas. Approximately 250,000 people were being held as slaves when June 19th, up until June 19th, and when a Union troop, Mr. Major General Gordon Granger, arrived to announce the war's over and all slaves must be freed. They didn't get freed right away. And he delivered this order. He said, the people of Texas are informed that in accordance with the proclamation from the executive of the United States, all slaves are free. So there's a lot to tell, and I'm going to take everyone's comments. I just wanted to finish this one section. This involves an absolute equality of personal rights and rights of property between former master and slave, and so on and so forth. And, you know, we can say, wow, that's great. But the truth is, it was really short-lived, and a lot of horrible things went on that people don't know about. And although slavery wouldn't legally end until the end of December 65 with the ratification of the 13th Amendment, it never really ended because they had that little clause in there about being a prisoner. And so that's a loophole that we have used in a barbaric fashion, in my opinion. And that is why June 19th became known as Juneteenth. And it was the day when supposedly the last American slaves were freed, resulting in a mass celebration. And I posted something today that had the original artwork of some of the people who made quilts and everything. And I can't imagine what it was like, but I've also read tons of stuff on what really it ended up being like. And of course, again, that was whitewashed, and we'll talk about that later on. Let me get everybody's. Okay, it's Vernon. Oh, no, go back. Let me back it up. Pat, yes, that's right. This is why they won't put, oh, okay, I got yours, sorry. Oh, okay, I was right. Vernon, it's funny. I never knew about the holiday until my later years. Like you're all old or something. Never celebrated it growing up in Illinois. Yeah, I didn't hear about it to my later, very later years. Moppy. Every time Black people stand up for each other, we get called racist. The KKK was for their people. Roman empires were for their people. All these groups throughout history were for their people. Yeah, I mean, every time it's all about the system of oppression. And I mean, the people who run our nation, the wealthiest elites, are not going to allow certain people to have a voice. They will die before they will. This nation is really screwed up. Like, I keep saying that like I need to tell you, but it's, yeah, I understand. Saying you're racist for standing up for your people when your people are the ones that are being abused is ludicrous. It's a joke. I don't know why people would do that. Vernon, I think it should be a national holiday. Yeah, that would be really cool. I mean, I think more white folks should learn about it and understand, because if they understood that, maybe they'd know more about our real history. And that's a start whenever anything is actually based in the details. The details actually count for this kind of stuff. The nuances, all that stuff. This vague history of, oh, yay, they're emancipated, everybody at once. We didn't have the internet. It wasn't everybody at once. Up till 65, there were still people being kept as slaves in the South, in secluded farmland, who didn't know. I mean, try Vice News has a, I saw some stuff on that. It's unbelievable. Greed is yeah, I don't even get into it. Lakeisha, celebrate the Confederate of the KKK after June 19th. Yeah, there's a lot. Well, we're going to talk about the KKK a little bit, and I don't think people really quite get what they did and what they do. So definitely want to get into that. Pat, the slaves were never freed. I'd love it if you could elaborate on that. I think I know what you mean, but I would love to hear what you have to say. So tell us more. So I'm putting Pat to work. Teach us. Moppy, it's a problem if we stand for our people. Sorry, I can't throw my people under the bus for a paycheck. Yeah. I think that's one of the reasons I try to do what I do, because I'm privileged. I admit it. I was born into it. I didn't do anything to earn it. I didn't do anything to not earn. I got born this way, and I'm privileged. And so I'm going to use my voice to get other voices heard, to do whatever I can, because not to be a hero, not to be thanked. No one needs to thank me for acting like a human, because it's for me. I do it for me. I'm selfish. I can't stand living a freaking lie. Liberty and justice for all. Wahoo, what a joke. Our nation could be so great. We could do this. We could really be the leaders in humanity. But nope, we've let capitalism turn into much more than an economic system. It's a lifestyle. And it's out of check and out of control, and I could go on and on. But yeah, definitely, Moppy, stand up for everything. And the paycheck isn't even usually that much. I mean, I won't get into that part, but let me see. Let me see here. I scrolled too far. I apologize. Pat, this is why Black people are trying to make a day for us on August 10th of this year. Could you tell me more? More. Must know more. You are a wealth of knowledge. That is within itself. That one is within itself tells you that Lincoln really didn't want to free slaves at all. Reread what you read Lincoln said. Yeah, he was basically stating how, I read it 3 times before I put it on. He was saying he wanted to keep the Union together, and in his mind, he truly believed objectively that what he did helped the Union stay together, and he was 100% neutral, no shits given about slaves. That's what it sounded like to me. In our everyday slang, but it's kind of interesting. If you watch a video on a YouTube video who has the historian who teaches history at West Point, he's a decorated soldier of the American, he says, point blank, the Civil War was fought over slavery. And he is the current acting history teacher at West Point. I think he's still there. So there's a lot of history. We'll never really know everything, but at least let's try to get close to what we can do. Let me see. Moppy, if they really wanted to free slaves, they would have just left us alone, but instead they made Black codes, jail systems trying to control us. They're quick to tell the Civil War lie, though. It's BS. Yeah. Things seem to be going quite well initially because the military was enforcing the emancipation. And I've read stuff that Frederick Douglass got to talk to Congress, and they had a Black Congress and, meeting at the same time. And there was a lot of representation, and all hell broke loose. 1877, Compromise of 1877, destroyed. The troops left the South, and anyway, it's another right back to Black codes, and then right into Jim Crow, and it's terrible. It went like this, like, okay, maybe we're gonna be okay, maybe zoop straight down, and ever since it's just been, I don't know. Okay, that's a great point. Neil, Pat, that's what I said about Lincoln also. Mr. Evans, this is why many of the Black people in the community don't celebrate the 4th of July, but Juneteenth instead. Yeah, I don't celebrate the 4th of July. Wahoo. We have this great song about our Union. If you ever read the 3rd stanza of our lovely anthem, it's basically celebrating Black people dying who are slaves. It's racist. It's not good. So people don't get that. Great point, Mr. F.S. Black. Very good point. Thank you for pointing that out. A lot of people celebrate that instead because that's actually a celebration, like for real for them. The other thing is, was it a celebration? They were enslaved for like a long time. So let me see. Lakeisha, we can't be racist because we don't have that kind of power and privilege over white people. Yeah, and that's part of the thing. And I had somebody today adamantly discussing that we can't change the definition, and that's not right, and look at it in the dictionary, and there's no power base to it, and I just ended up giving up. But it wasn't a pretty sight. I've had Black people argue that to me. Not very many. It's very rare. But I lost a friend over that once when I decided which one I was going to go with, and that would be the one that most Black people are going with. Best practices. I always choose best practices because this is not about my opinion. So I chose best practices, and I lost a friend. But anyway, another long story. Mr. Eppiswick. Moppy, look up the Gala Wars. Slaves did fight back. Oh, I know they did. Just another swept under the rug story. Oh, yeah. The stuff I was reading about slaves fighting back were, and this is a very hard topic to talk about, when the people were raping them to make them have children. And that they fought back. I can't get into it right now, but they fought back. They came up with ways to make sure they did not have children. And they worked on it, and it was a known thing. And I think it shows the spirit, the human spirit, that freedom is just taking away someone's freedom is, there's nothing more cruel. It's, I don't get into it. Okay. As a kid, Mr. FS like, as a kid, I remember going to Juneteenth block parties in my neighborhood. Okay. Growing up, but didn't know what it was represented until I got older. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Okay. Because supposedly in pockets, little pockets all over the place of the US, some people don't know a thing about it. Jim, welcome to the show. Definition of racism: belief that all members of a race possess the characteristics specific to that race. Anyone can be racist by categorizing people by race. Okay, that's the definition in there. And what's going on today is that systemic racism has a power base to it. Okay? And also, a lot of people say that having a white person's dictionary tell you the definition is probably not as appropriate as it should be. So there's a lot of, I don't care what definition you go by. It's still racism. It's still, call it what you want. It's still being cruel and horrific to our fellow humans. And to really have an impact, you still have to have a power base, okay? To have a systemic impact. Personal, sure. Let's say a black person is running a company and they say to themselves, I'm not hiring any white people. Yeah, that's being a bigot. It's the same thing as a racist, but call it what you want. It's still not systemic racism. Yeah, they hurt you personally. That's really rude. But it's still not systemic racism. So you can't go to 10 other places and not get a job because of that. That kind of makes sense. So I know a lot of people don't want to call it that. I could care less what people call it. Americans don't seem to have an education of the transatlantic slave trade yet, are so opinionated on the subject. Yeah, and that's because our whitewashed history books, and that's human nature. I mean, there's so many sociological, Dunning-Kruger is basically, no offense, but I'll just put it this way. The person is so ignorant, they don't even know they're so ignorant, they can't even measure how ignorant they are. Or another one, for example, is the backfire effect. People, once they learn something, and this is just human, must be evolutionary, I guess, I have no idea. When they learn something and they truly believe it's right, the first thing you learn, and then you're told later that that's absolutely wrong, people cling harder to their beliefs, even in the face of overwhelming evidence. So we have a lot working against us here to be smart. Okay. Pat, you skipped what I said about the event that will be going on in San Francisco this year. I'm going back. Sorry about that. Oh my God, how did I do that? Sorry. Thank you, Pat. Jeez Louise. Okay, Pat says, thank you. That's what I need help. Pat, well, there is an event that will soon be happening in San Francisco on August 10th of this year. And they are working on getting that day passed for a day for Black people here in America. Oh, so that's what you were talking about. That's really cool. And is it only in San Francisco? Is it district-wide or statewide or just citywide? Because I know some cities can do things like that's really cool. That's really cool. Sorry that I skipped that, but I'm glad. Gotta help me out. I'm only human, and I'm kind of all over the place tonight. It was a rough day. Jim, yeah, I don't know. People, here's the thing, okay? We have the internet. You can look up newspapers online. You can learn if you want to. It's a choice. We have communications and, we have lots of things going on. So it is a choice to learn or not. But with regards to the people who use a definition, call it what you want. I have no preference really. It's not up to me, but you can name it whatever you want. It's still what it is. No offense, but do you know about the transatlantic slave trade? Oh, it's no offense. I know a little bit. I'm not an expert, but if you want to teach us, you're welcome to jump in and do so. I work mostly with stuff in the US and pop culture and sociological things. I'm not a historian and I'm not an expert, but this show is to kind of have an open dialogue and discussion with people kind of in a mixed setting, so that when people watch it, they see a real live white lady surviving talking about racism. That's all it is. Because you see, we need to get white America to take some racial responsibility and learn our real history. So that's why I do this. And plus I love talking to everybody. And but no, it's not offensive. I don't know everything. I don't even know close to everything. Not even close. I'm not overly defensive like that. Maybe I am. I don't know. Moppy. And Africans did not sell Africans into slavery. You got to be a fool to think it. Why the hell would they sell their own people into chattel slavery? That's a lie. Well, yeah, they lied. It was a whole different thing. I've read a bit about that too. And if you want to tell us more or send this article, do it. People with this kind of thing, white guilt and all that, they'll say anything to make it sound like it's okay. And it's kind of sad because the top 30 denials of systemic racism are always the same. They're always the same. I mean, nobody ever comes up with anything unique. It's always the same. And I don't know. But anyway, good point. The next thing I want to talk about, unless you guys have another nice. Oh my God. Let me see. Oh, Pat. No, I did not skip you. No, I read the San Francisco thing. Am I getting senile before my very eyes? Pat said, you skipped what I said. Pat. I'm looking. You skipped what I said. Okay. I read about the event. More? Something else I skipped? Same here, Neil. Oh, you said read what you said about Lincoln. And is that what you meant? Tell me more. You should just call me, Pat. Call me and tell me. Because I don't want to be being horrible to you here. I'm not trying to. Whoa. Okay. Okay. Jim, is it true though? Is it true though? Not sure what you're referring to. Oh, this is a confusing show tonight. Okay. Let me see. Oopsie. Okay. Somebody posted something. Great-grandfathers, Nigerian slave traders. Okay. Thank you. That was Vernon. Thank you. The rules are of the channel. I don't know. I don't really have too many rules, but if people are being rude and stuff, I just ignore them. So, and I hope everyone else would too, because and if they're really rude, I have to like kick them off, because this is supposed to be a civilized discussion. And if you can't be civilized, then you have to leave or at least get ignored. So, but if you came on just to like be a goof, it's not really what we're into here. So no worries. But let me see. So yeah, I don't know. We're here to talk about racism. I want to start a topic right now about the missing Black kids. Beth. Yes, Vernon is correct. The history of the African slave trade is a bit complex. However, it does not change anything that we know about white power, colonialism, and capitalism. Actually, Pat, I'm ignoring him, and that's kind of my MO. I don't want to give him any anything because I'm not sure what he's doing exactly. And so, yeah. So I'm gonna, if I could, I would. I would just ignore him. Yeah, he's being a goof. So missing Black girls and women. I wanted to talk about that, and then we'll get into the war and reparations. The war, I'm calling it the war, because I think that's what he's trying to do. Yeah. So Black girls and women, and I don't know if everybody knows this or not, represent an outrageously disproportionate percentage of the number of people who are missing in America. And Black girls and women represent 7% approximately. And I've really researched this. And I actually am going to try to get somebody on. I'm going to have somebody come on, hopefully, from one of the organizations and actually come on and as an expert and speak about this, because this is being ignored by the media. This is actually being ignored by the media. 7% of the population, almost 40% of the missing persons cases. And I'm going to say that again. Black girls and women represent 7% of Americans, but 36.7% of missing persons cases. And that is not okay, right? That is not equality, okay? That's, once again, some sort of systemic racism occurring. And so can everybody take a second, just a few seconds, to put a short answer in the comments as to why in the world you think the statistics on Black girls and women are so incredibly grim. Okay, I already see one right now. All right. You will not hear the names like Elizabeth Smart and Natalie Holloway of a Black. Can you name one single Black girl that's missing? I can't. Okay. Like the public figure Sean King says, we don't see primetime television specials on them. We don't see their images as permanent fixtures on Twitter. We don't see their names in hashtags or trending topics. Nationwide manhunts or search parties don't ensue. This is from Sean King. Crying Black parents pleading for their children are not found interrupting our sitcoms or on news shows. Okay? But the percentages are out of control, completely out of control. Okay? Almost 40%. So this is incredibly scary and dangerous. We live in this society where we just put things that are trending to get the most views. Capitalism has taken over. Okay? I see more missing white girls, and we should have. We should see them. But we should also see, if there's 40% children and women of color, we need to be seeing those too. Very, very upsetting. So this is something that the media has just really, really dropped the ball on. And I want to know why you think, because I did some research of a study that was done on this, and there aren't that many studies done on this. And it was peer reviewed, and it was supposed to be pretty legit. So I want you to put it, and I'm going to read them in just a second. Here's something that's equally as disturbing, and I just cringed. One of the most disturbing pieces of information I read when I was doing this research was that the mystery of disappearing has heightened since 2016 when Donald Trump won the presidency, and the subsequent rise in nationalism and white supremacy. And I can't say I'm shocked. It's disgusting. But We live in a society where we do what's trending. When people go missing, there is a huge disparity between media coverage of when people of color go missing and when white people, and the wealthier you are, the more coverage you get. Whereas all people matter. The reason I'm talking about this, I mean, I believe white kids should absolutely get coverage, but when 40% of the missing girls and women are Black or kids of color or women of color, and they're getting nothing. I had trouble finding stuff on this. There is also, to take it a step further, and this is really sad to me because this is just a double whammy. According to the Center for American Progress, the minority youth that are missing, 30% of them, of those that are missing, okay, that are kids of color, not the adults, the kids, are connected somehow to the LGBTQ community. And that is showing like a double whammy for racism and bigotry. There is an issue of missing gay youth in America and in the African-American community. I don't know if you guys want to speak to this. Everyone, it's not a monolith. Everyone has their opinion, which I totally respect. But it's a taboo subject. A lot of very, very religious communities are very, very much, they are homophobic. And, not all of them, but there's a lot. And so we got to really be aware of that, because these people are getting double whammy. They're getting racism and bigotry for the sexual orientation they were born as. So it's a toughie. And transgender teens who are missing, and if they're transgender teens who are Black, off the charts. So, I mean, clearly, the research I saw held true to what our society is, what we believe and what we value. And it's just so sad. According to the organization, like Black and Missing in America is an actual organization. And I'm going to try to get them to speak and have a Q&A with them, because somebody's got to do something. I mean, I guess Shaun King is making people aware of this, but I really couldn't find a lot. And I was blown away. They say there's a sense of distrust, obviously, with law enforcement. So what happens is the parents go to them and it's problematic. And I cannot imagine having your child be gone and having the police be, I mean, that's just, it's horrible. It's terrifying. They were outright racist attitudes that this organization found. What they did was they were more likely to say that the kids were runaways. And when you're categorized as a runaway, it's a whole different category. They put less time, less effort into looking for them. The extremely sick stereotype that young Black teens and people of color are sexually promiscuous is like a whole, so they think, oh, they're probably out doing something. I mean, they basically take all of their sick biases to force these statistics, it seems like. That's what the study seems to be saying, that they would categorize the Black kids as runaways. And Oprah Winfrey Show did a special on missing Black girls. And there was some kids that were missing for a long time. She did her show and the child was found the next day. So media matters. This isn't just like, well, they're not talking about us. No. When you talk in the media about a missing child and thousands and thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of people hear it, you get better results, right? Than if nobody hears it. This is not rocket science. This is the facts. And when our media chooses to not talk about our Black girls and Black women who are taken, or I don't care what happened to them, they matter, and media needs to get on the ball, because that's sick. I saw the Oprah show and it was like it was unbelievable. She has a huge audience. I'm not going to say that media publicity doesn't matter, because it does. And so why are these Black girls and women given so little coverage? I'm going to start reading everybody's reasons, and then I will go to the 3 reasons this research showed. And it was peer reviewed. It was supposed to be a legit article. Let me go back here. At the beginning of this one, I asked you to tell me what you thought. Why? And I'm gonna look through here. I want to make sure. Okay. Okay, Moppy. I skipped something here by accident. Africans did not sell Africans. Negroes were sold into slavery by other dark-raced people. Okay, and we can get into that. I just wanted to make sure you were heard. Lakeisha, her first thing was Black organ stealing trafficking. Definitely a possibility. Anton, it's the government and the cops. I knew you'd say that, Anton. Right. Yeah, I guess. Okay. Bedge. I hope I'm saying your name right. Human and organ trafficking. Yeah, could be. I couldn't find stuff on that. I gotta go to the university, I think, and really do some serious research. Oh, Jim. Slave ships from Europe docked on the western coast of Africa and traded goods such as weapons, manufactured goods, with African warlords, dictators, etc., who were incentivized to sell them. Yeah, I've heard a lot of things about that, and I won't get into it. You guys can certainly have a conversation on here about that. I'm just going to read what you guys say, but I'm not gonna, because we're kind of going to stick to the little girls and women. Prisoners of war plundered villages. Europeans never actually left. Went into the country in general, but stayed in the coast. Africa was a very tribal and war-torn country at the time. Yeah, part of the thing is this, and I will say this, Jim, I'm perfectly fine with hearing the real history of the world and the United States. But what we don't want to do is use that as some sort of, how do we explain it? I guess you could say we don't want to use what they did then as some sort of justification. And I know I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but that's kind of where it goes a lot of times in people's minds. You're justifying slavery. Are you kidding me? Because personally, I don't care what happened. It's wrong. We know it's wrong. And people back then knew it was wrong too. So, you know, and we had abolitionists back then. So yeah, I can't speak for that history. I am not an expert, but I would never want to use that history as a justification. Okay, that's all I'm saying. And Pat says, that's because they view blacks as less than human. Thank you. That's exactly, yeah. Yeah, Jim, what the British Empire did, though, was utterly horrific and plunged Africa 100 years apart. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot. Yep, good point. Yeah, and I'm not trying to be one-sided. History is real, and but the only problem is when a lot of people who cite that kind of history, and then they say, so it wasn't really our fault in the United States that we had slavery. They try to justify it. They're sympathizers to it, and I know that's not what you're trying to do, Jim. But yeah, there's a lot of crazy history. But I don't care who sold them, who did what. It's wrong, and we need to take responsibility because it happened in our nation. At least acknowledge it and teach our real history. But yeah, great points. Moppy, it was a professor that took a Negro skull and compared it with an African skull, and they were nothing alike. Are you talking about when they were trying to long ago? Okay, I think send us articles on that. I'm not sure what you're saying. I thought maybe you were trying to, when they were trying to do the eugenics model, it wasn't even scientific. It was just basically so they could be racist. But Lakeisha, No offense, Kim. White people are non-human because people don't do as much carnage as they have to. Our people have done so much more horrors and murders and thefts as European Caucasians who are not the first humans. I understand you feeling that way 100%. I can't imagine how I would feel if I were you. I cannot. I know how I feel. I'm like this white person. I can't imagine. I will not go there with the non-human thing personally. I totally get why you do. The reason I won't is because I can't go full circle. I can't. I don't understand this. I'm telling you right now, I don't get why white folks did this, how they could do it, how they could bear to do it. But I won't go to say they're not human, because then that makes me just as bad as somebody who was saying that, I can't dehumanize. It's temptation, but I won't go there because I just don't get it. It's easy to go there, but I personally won't, but you have every right to go wherever you want. I mean, I can't imagine being I can't imagine being a person of color, a Black person, African-American, Indigenous person in this nation. I can't. So I'm not judging you one bit. Pat, Black people organs 3 to 4 times more than any other organs. Yeah, I read something on that, but I can't, like I said before, I can't seem to get a legit source for it. So I can't really speak to it. Oh, okay. Lakeisha, runaway, haha. If I don't laugh, not funny at all, but the lies white people say to ignore missing Black children. Yeah. It's economic bias. And I'll tell you the real reasons, and I'm sure you probably already know them, but it's exactly what you think. Lakeisha. Oh, Pat. My God, Pat. I can't skip you again. It'll be like, they want to hide the truth about of the actual fact that they are taking Black organs. Yeah. Is that why I can't find anything on them? Because I can't find anything that's like, and I want to know. So if I don't find the source, I just stay neutral until I find the source. And when I find that source, I will be all over it. But it's really hard nowadays because, like, as a white person, me doing what I do, if I jump, Jacob, hello. If I jump in and say something that's just ludicrous and wrong, I lose any credibility that I probably never had to begin with. So I'm not going there because I don't have the research, but I have heard that. I have people allude to that. I can't get good research on that, and I don't know why. And it's probably for what you're saying. I don't know. Yeah, it's terrible to judge somebody and assume that they're a runaway. I mean, these parents must be devastated. That organization that I'm going to have come and talk, they were amazing. I saw a video on them. They are amazing. Like, I actually kind of wanted to volunteer for them, and then I'm like, oh my God, I can't even keep up with anything. I can't volunteer for anything. But yeah, that's why. Yeah. Okay. Oh, Lakeisha, white folks are sick in the fucking mind. They ain't human at all, not natural. Yeah, I mean, I'm voicing your opinion. I could definitely see you thinking that, and I don't blame you one bit. I'll never get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. And it's going to haunt me till the day I die. I'll never get it. I mean, I'm this old and I don't get it. I've been trying for a long time. So my big thing as a white person is maybe I don't need to get it. I just need to know it's wrong and it's sick and it's barbaric. And I won't sit and do nothing. But if I was actually a Black person or a person of color or an Indigenous person or an African American or I don't know how I'd handle it. I cannot imagine. So, Kookie? Is I saying that right? Kookie, hi. Thank you for your question. What made you decide to fight racism? That is a great question. Maybe decide to fight racism is kind of a strange thing. It's a combination of when I was little, I saw it when I was very little and I didn't know what it was. And I thought it's kind of a selfish reason, selfish, like, self-centered little kid. I thought I was the only one who saw it because I lived in it. No one talked about it. And I saw it, and I know what I saw. And I'm hard-headed, kind of, I guess. And I saw it, and I was like, nobody told me. And so I was starting to think, am I imagining it? Am I like, what's wrong with me? Why are these people ignoring? These people need help. They want to be, they want not like saviors, but they need us to help them. People are being rotten to them. Like when I was 6, my best friend was Black. I didn't know she was, but she was the only Black kid in my class, and I gravitated towards her. I don't know, but since I didn't figure out what it was for so long, and I knew it was something and no one told me, and I was just so interested because I had to figure out why, like, adults are ignoring this. They're not doing anything to stop this. Why? It didn't make sense because in my mind, Black and white, somebody needs help, you help them. If somebody's hurt, you help them. And I could tell that people were being mean. I couldn't pinpoint it. So it was just a feeling. And so then when I got older, I noticed every road seems to lead back to systemic racism. Like, and then I kind of was like, oh my God, I heard a guy named Dr. Paul Farmer, and he said something like, the idea that some groups are more important than others is the root of all that is wrong in our world. And it was like, yeah, that's systemic racism. And it's also economic privilege, and it's a lot of things. But it just, and then I had a lot of experiences just to, I got lucky. A lot of people taught me. And I learned from somebody who was trained by Jane Elliott, the blue eyes, brown eyes woman who did the experiments and became rather famous as an anti-racist educator. And I was really young when I got to learn her stuff. And it was like, anyway, enough about me. Thank you for asking that, though. I'm really glad you said something. Jim, that's not what I'm doing, was just trying to reply to the comment. Respect what you were talking about is racism in modern day America, which is obviously a very different topic. Jim, I apologize if I made you feel like I totally get that you weren't doing that. I was just, I gear this part of the show is for the reruns. I get more people on the reruns to watch it. And usually they're white folks who are just learning. And so they don't get this too much. So I am so sorry if I indicated that that's what you were saying. I did not think that at all. Sorry about that. And if I make a mistake, I'll totally apologize because it's hard. I want a call-in show. I don't want to have to like read stuff because then you could just say, oh, no, that's not what I meant. So please accept my apology. I knew you weren't. People who come onto this show are so triggered by the racism that they're like overtly over the top racist. So it's like, it's kind of obvious. So, I mean, I hope you understand what I mean. Yeah. Like if they come onto one of my sites, they can't control themselves. It's like they're triggered. So they have to be like cruel and they out themselves and it's fine. Let me see. Gotcha. Jacob. Hello. Thank you for being here. If you're still here, I know I'm way behind. Thank you for being here. I'm doing okay. Had a rough day. Just because I have studied the slave trade in depth and as I say, understand it, if it's not more horrific than you think, just different as I know about the, okay, wait. Okay, let me read that again. Okay. Sorry, I got to read that properly. Scrolled up. Okay. Just because I've studied the slave trade in depth and as I say, understand it, if not more horrific than you, it's not more, I'm not sure 100% what you're saying. It's not more horrific than you're saying, but just different as I know about the details. Tell me more if you are still here and don't mind, tell me more what you mean, because I wasn't 100% sure what you mean. I don't want to misrepresent you. But yeah, so you do know about stuff. Part of the show, and part of the show is this, is that you end up helping educate. And, I'm not the all-knowing. A lot of people who view probably know way more than me. So I count on you. The show isn't like I'm the expert show. It's more like I'm the person that talks to people and will get down. Like some people throw in research and they'll do a lot of stuff like that. So I expect I expect the viewers to work. They have to work to help because it's kind of a group effort. Okay. Lakeisha, white people did this because they're jealous and white people did this because they're jealous and be stolen ideas, talents, discoveries, inventions to claim as their own, use us for their covert racism. Racism is about fraudulent theft of Black Americans. Yeah, it's a crime against humanity in my personal view. It's a crime against humanity, and I mean that in the most atrocious way. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So yeah, if you know things, Pat, Kim, it's a black market thing, and you won't find it. God, okay, that's terrifying. Jacob, no, get the globalist brainwash stuff out of here. Globalist. Oh, you're against globalism? Oh, I don't know. Jacob, gee, I wonder why globalist YouTube has this on here. Globalist YouTube. This show? I haven't been kicked off yet, but if you don't like it, you are free to exit the premises. Okay? Because, I mean, if you stay, then you can listen. But if you don't want to, I get it. If you're a nationalist and you don't believe in globalism, then this probably isn't for you. You know? I'm kind of like a humanism type person, but I know people who aren't. So, but I'm sure there's shows for nationalists around. In fact, I'm positive. So, let me see.
Fox News.
Fox News. Thank you. Somebody's throwing something in there. Let me see here. Yes, Pat. Yes, that's out there, Jacob, but you won't find nothing about truth behind organ harvesting. Oh, okay. Okay, maybe I'm misinterpreting Jacob. I'm not sure. Moppy says, that's right, Lakeisha. Jacob, globalists equals divide and conquer the USA. The race baiting didn't work, so now they're trying a different propaganda approach. Well, I can kind of speak to that. A lot of white folks who are new to understanding our real racial history take it very personally, like it's about them. And they think it's about them. And it does take a lot of education to realize it's not about us. And that's okay. It's okay for things not to be about us. Okay? It's about a system that people who look like us put into place to harm and take advantage of people who don't look like us. So if you call that race baiting, so be it. But what I call it is our real racial history. And I personally would rather live in the real world and be honest about what happened so that we can move on, solve it, and have a better life than being in denial. Race baiting to me there's no such thing. Everything in our country happens to be about race. We're very, very, our nation is really based on a lot of white supremacy. So I don't really get race baiting. I don't believe in the word. I don't believe in the word because there's no baiting. It's our history. And unfortunately, it's also current, modern, happening now. So there's no baiting. Let me give you an example. And I love this example, and I use it all the time. If your spouse, the person you're married to, pops you in the face and punches you, and then says, stop acting like I'm so violent. Just forgive me and put it in the past. It's like, but you just punched me. Okay, we still have extreme systemic racism in America. And so race baiting, it's like, if talking about it is race baiting, I'm not buying it, but I've heard that before. But it's just kind of an excuse because a lot of people don't want to talk about it because it's uncomfortable. You don't want to hear that your ancestors did bad things, or the group that kind of looks like you did rotten, cruel, barbaric things, but it's true. So you didn't do it. So why be in denial? Okay, enough of that. I hope that helps, but I somehow doubt it. Lakeisha, we sadly don't own, we don't own anything, even owning a home. Jewelry stores and gun stores all run and owned by greedy white racists because guns and jewelry are resources that destroy our community for greed. Yeah, it's a lot of people don't understand that, like, inner cities were created. Inner city poverty was created by our government. You didn't personally create it, but through redlining and sundown towns and the culture of white supremacy. We created this through our tax system, that the community is the tax base for states. Well, if your community has zero infrastructure, zero jobs, zero beautiful, nice houses, or is, kind of nobody wants to invest money into it, your tax base for the schools reflects that. So you take redlined people, not by their fault, put them in an area like that that's run down with no jobs, no infrastructure, and no one willing to invest in the worst areas. It's called redlining. They didn't call it that for no reason. It was a legal process that people would not sell to Black people, and it was okay to do that. Cities, towns, our nation, and then make the tax base. I mean, I can't think of more of a setup for a cycle of poverty, which turns into racism, because those are the people who are redlined. So it's kind of, sometimes a conspiracy theory really is a conspiracy theory. Okay, we did this, and say you did it, but our country did it. So let's fess up to it. Yep. Kooky, I like that. I admire your fight against racism. Keep it up and don't give up. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It is the least I can do, because all I'm doing is speaking the truth. It's that I try to do that with everything I do. Why in the world would I stop over this? This is so important. But thank you so much. It's a really sweet compliment. Whoa, I am missing lots of people. Oliver, hello. Having just agreed with that comment, you think I'm a sick person because I was born white. Oh no, I do not think you're a sick person because you were born white. I'm not sure if you're talking to me. I don't think I was born white. I don't think I'm sick. So are my kids. So are most people I know. No, I don't think you're sick for being born white. I think that, let me explain, that we shouldn't deny what our real history. Like, our real history has some rough parts. And what we've done is we've whitewashed them out of the curriculum. We don't talk about them. People don't learn that, sure, we had emancipation, but oh my God, you have any clue what happened after that? People weren't dancing in the streets. We had black coats, sundown towns, we had Devil's Punch Bowl, we had Jim Crow, we had, oh my gosh, we had all these horrific, we had periods of lynchings of thousands and thousands of people. We had de facto racism. We had segregation beyond, so this is just our history. You didn't do it. I didn't do it. But it's our history, and it's not just the past. It's happening now. And so as people who care about our fellow humans, instead of doing nothing, which condones and propagates it, I strongly advocate for white folks to educate themselves. That's all. No hate. What did you say? Let me read what you wrote again. That's a really good question. I don't think you're a sick person because you were born white. I think that is because, see, white was made up. There's no really such thing as white. That's a made up term. We're all one race. There's no races. We're all the human race. Some of us have more activated melanin in our skin because of our genetics. Okay, like two people have a kid, they kind of like get the genetics of those people. I'm sure you know all that. So I'm just saying we should educate ourselves. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Keep asking me questions though, Oliver, because I want to answer them. All right. the best I can. Pat, don't you know there was a doctor in Mississippi who was deliberately killing Black people? He was giving them arsenic in their medicine. I believe you. I don't recall that case, but I believe it. But bring it on. It's kind of sad. Very sad. Moppy, Trump is trying to build a space military team. I know. Don't we kind of already have like a space division? He's watched too many Star Wars and Star Trek, I think. I'm just saying. That's what I think. Maybe too many of those movies. Oh, okay. Jim, I meant to say I probably understand it even more horrific than you think, having studied it. Yeah. I think I know what you mean, Jim. When you study it in school, like they give you kind of like the rundown and they don't really give the details, but when you really study it, like you research it, oh my God, it's brutal. Is that what you mean? Because that's what I found. The more academic you get with your research, I'm talking about like real research, the stuff's, so watered down. It's like, oh yeah, they make slavery sound like just a bad job or something. No. That is barbaric with a capital B. I hope that's what you're saying. Because totally. The more you learn about stuff, when you learn the details and this kind of stuff, details matter. They matter. You can't water down chattel slavery. It was dehumanizing in a systemic way, purposefully taking the human out of humans. So yeah, I think that's what you mean. I hope that's what you mean. Mr. F.S. Black, I read recently that approximately 1,100 police officers in St. Louis have been added to the prosecutor's list for corruption, racism found on their social media. Yes. And that is a huge topic. And I started to talk about it last week. What do you guys think? I personally feel really strongly that if you're in a job, I'm all for privacy and all that. If you're in a job that's paid by our taxes, you damn well better not be racist. At least overtly racist. It'd be nice if you weren't covertly racist too, but you're being paid to take care of the safety of human beings, all of them, not just the ones that you think are cool and should be able to live. So that's huge to me. I think every last one of them should be looked into. And yeah, it's a huge change and it's a bummer for them who didn't know it. But think about that. What if a teacher was abusive to kids and they wrote all about how they want to do horrible things to children? Would you want them to be a teacher? No. So why in the world would you want a police officer to basically hate a certain sector of the population? They have a gun. So it's like, there's no excuse. There's no excuse. Yeah, and that article, oh my gosh, I read 3 of them. And it's not just St. Louis. It's not just them. That's the main concentration, but it's not just them. So it's kind of crazy. Okay. I got to get to some. Moppy, I'd love for you to bring on Dana Stevens to this show one day. Beg him for me. I love him. And we're friends. Beg him. I need everyone to totally harass him. Just kidding. Not really. Kidding. Not kidding. Vernon, right. What's race baiting? Conservatives love phrases like that. Also, identify politics. Phrases they use to disregard. Yeah, Vernon, great point. A lot of the phrases that people who are conservative, or in other words, they're disturbed by the fact that we're kind of racist in this nation, and they don't want to talk about it and it bugs them, so they want to fight against it because they take it personally, really personally. And it's not about them unless they're doing something wrong that they think's bad. That's between themselves and their God or whatever. But yeah, all those terms are basically, in my mind, this is just my opinion, saying that your reality is not right. Well, that's just kind of weird because by definition, your reality is your reality. And I take offense offended. Now, don't take offense. I have a real problem with people who have not experienced being a Black person, who tell a Black person how they feel and how they should feel and why they shouldn't feel. That's ridiculous. I think that's common sense. So totally, Vernon. I don't get it either. I don't get it either. What it is some sort of denial or maybe guilt, or I don't even know. I have no idea. But if you aren't a Black person, if you aren't an Indigenous person, if you aren't African American, if you aren't a brown person, don't tell them how to think, and don't tell them how to be solving their own problems. You don't know better than they do. Because see, we've had centuries to help make this stop, the thing we started, and it's not working. So it's not our place. It's arrogant. So I hope Vernon, I'm kind of saying what you want. Twiz 13 Empress, years ago. This playing ignorance game is over. We don't believe that whites don't know what they're doing. Yeah, I'll tell you something about me personally. When I first started learning about stuff, like when I was really young, I was naive. And I was like, and I'm a teacher. So I was like, oh, maybe they need to be educated. Like, well, that ship has sailed. People know what they're doing. I mean, there are a few younger people maybe who are sheltered who don't, but we live in an amazing age of great communication technology. If you want to learn what our society is about, you'll do it. If you have parents that are racist, you can't help it. Do your own education and pull away from the ideology. And I get that. Some kids are doomed with parents who are incredibly overtly racist. They truly believe that we're all different races. Like somebody called me a race traitor. I'm like, how can I be a race traitor? We're all in the same race, you idiot. I didn't say that, but I was like, I just don't get it. I'm not a race traitor because we're in the same race. So it doesn't make sense. But yeah, gone are the days where, especially in the last 10, 15 years, like with Trump and the alt-right, I mean, you can't pretend you don't know. It's a lie. And I hope that's kind of what you're getting at. I don't want to misrepresent what you're saying. But yeah, Vernon, we don't own stuff because we came from slavery. There is a racial wealth gap. American descendants of slavery are at the bottom. So if you come from slavery, add Jim Crow, redlining, etc., poverty passed down. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sundown towns. There's so much. There's so much history. The number one thing in a society that's economic base is capitalism is the ability to accumulate wealth. And we did not allow that. And the systemic racism stops people who are not Caucasian and from accumulating wealth. And so that's just the facts of living in a capitalistic society where racism runs rampant on the systemic level. So yeah, great comments, Vernon. I'm so happy you're here. Moppy, exactly, Vernon. Tweez and Roots. How? I'm just trying how. I'm not sure what you're referring to. I feel that's when I definitely need to have telephone call in because I wasn't sure what you meant. Can you rewrite that again? Tweez 13 Empress. I want to know what you're talking about. Mr. FSI. Pat, are you talking about the Tuskegee experiments or is this something different? Oh, okay. I know what he's talking about. Yeah, I know about this too. Yeah, I wasn't sure either. Good question. Moppy, there's no such thing as white people. And it's all, yeah, it was made up. And that's part of the, thank you for the comment. Okay. Like there's so much history, like white people, the term was made, it was invented. Like, plus we're not really white unless you have like pigmentation issues. Like, yeah, it was made up. Thank you. Thank you, Moppy. That was a great point. Oh my goodness. Uh-oh. I overscrolled. Sorry. Let me go back. Wow, I really overscrolled. I better hurry and get all these questions in. Oliver, there's no such thing as white privilege. Rich and middle class, yes, but this is just associated with skin color. Plenty of trailer trash, etc. Despised white folks as there are blacks. So let me explain the white privilege thing. White privilege is a term taken from academia. Okay, it does not mean that your life is great. It does not mean you are royalty. It does not mean that you don't work your ass off for everything you've ever done. Okay, it does not mean you're happy. It does not mean you're educated. What it means is you benefit in certain ways, and everyone's different. Obviously, economic privilege is huge. And try to get this. You benefit from an unearned privilege just by chance because you were born. It's not your fault you have white privilege. You didn't do anything wrong. It's not supposed to be a demeaning term. And people who are defensive have taken it as a demeaning term. It's a neutral term from academia. It's a fact of living in a nation that is based on white supremacy. That's it. No such thing. I mean, the statistics are clear. It's been studied for years and years and years and decades, and it's a thing. It's not supposed to be used as an insult, but it's used as an insult, which is ridiculous. It's just what it is. I have white privilege. It doesn't mean I'm a bad person. I can't help out with how I was born. So yeah, I hope that helps. I don't know if it's going to help, but let me see. Tweets 13 hours. Oliver, 2000. Funny, that's because all the white shooters seem to make it out alive. Even a white homeless person has more housing than black. Yeah, I mean, the statistics are, and I think, I don't want to speak for you, but the statistics are so crystal clear in every category. What we're talking about right now, actually, about young black girls and women who are representing a very large portion of the population who go missing, are not getting the media coverage, not even close, okay? And that's white privilege, okay? People value whiteness in our society a bit more than, not everybody, but in general. So I hope that makes sense, and thank you for that. Tweet 13 Empress, thank you, because he's trying to understand. That too, Mr. FS Black, Pat says, learn social justice. Welcome. Pat, Oliver 2000, that's not true. You have white privilege, whether you believe it or not, but it's true. Now, one of the things people often say about white privilege is, and like I said before, most people that are, a lot of white folks, they don't get what it really is because it's been turned into a bad word. It's a neutral word. It's not meant to be a bad word, okay? You can use it as a bad word if you want to, but it's not meant to be a bad word. Here's the thing. One of the ways that I see a lot of people say, by saying you don't see white privilege, that's your white privilege. You get the privilege of not knowing it and not realizing it. Do you get followed in a store when you walk in, and when you leave, are you worried that if you don't buy something, security is going to follow you out? Well, a lot of black people and African-American people and brown people and indigenous people, they get harassed. If you walk in a store, you can't find the thing that you want and you go because you're not going to buy anything. They think they stole something right away and they get followed. And this is a huge occurrence. And that's white privilege. You're white, you can leave. Privileges aren't like aristocracy. It doesn't mean like you're a queen or a king. It just means that you get the benefit of the doubt, okay? Whereas A person who's not doesn't. And that kind of adds up all day long. So I hope you understand a little bit about that. Okay, your message got held. Let's see. Okay, let me explain. I don't want to misrepresent you, Tweez Empress. I think this is the point you're trying to say. Okay, I'll reword it because you are making a point. That's very good. Here's the thing. You can talk about poor white people, okay? And they don't have as much privilege as wealthy white people, but they still have privilege because they can. It's like you can fix your hair and you can buy a suit that looks new from the, from or borrow your friends, and nobody knows you're poor unless you tell them. You can fake it. You can, I'm just giving you a very overt example, okay? You can't fake not being black. And there's nowhere to run, there's nowhere to hide, okay? Poor white folks do have a lot less privilege because they don't have economic privileges, which is run rampant in our system. Capitalism's turned into this like social system rather than an economic system with checks that keep it intact. So it's just confusing the two a little bit. They're not the same. I talk about white privilege here. I don't talk about too much economic, but on my YouTube channel, I do a little bit more. Okay, I hope that's kind of the spirit of what you're trying to tell them. If I'm wrong, you can yell at me later. Oliver. Oh, how can a homeless person have more housing rights if they're homeless? It doesn't make sense, and I don't know why, if any racially motivated, I don't know if any racially motivated school shooters. How can a homeless person have more housing rights if... Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Right, okay. All right. I think I get what you're saying. Help me out here, people. Okay. When I talk about privilege, I'm talking in terms of a system of privilege. I'm not talking about individuals. There will be individuals who are not doing as well. Well, I mean, look at really, really wealthy black people who have made it in whatever they did and made it big. They still don't have white privilege, okay? And it's not, you can't really look at one thing. Maybe that homeless person will have somebody give them food and come up to them. Whereas if the person was black, they'd be afraid. There's a lot of nuances to this. And it's not every person, it's the general. So if the case doesn't apply to you, then it doesn't apply to you. I mean, there's so many types of privileges. To have an able body, there's white privilege, there's economic privilege. Oh my gosh, there's tons. But economic is a very huge one, I have to say. I mean, there's mental health. The privilege of having mental health, good mental health in America is huge because we don't have a mental health system in America. It's hit or miss. I could tell you stories, but I hope that helps. So I think that's what you're asking, Oliver. I wasn't quite sure. Tweez, 13 Empress, Oliver. 2000. So no homeless person ever seeks housing, gets to get a home. Yeah, she's saying they can get help. Tweez, you know exactly what I'm saying. Okay, social justice. Owen says the Democratic Party should be the ones who pay for reparations. Oh, we're going to talk about reparations in just a second. Yeah, reparations is, I'm going to read everyone's comment unless they're like super nasty. And I'll give you a few of the stuff that I studied, but I'm not, my idea isn't relevant, it doesn't matter what I think. I'm a white person, it's not my place. Okay, so I'll tell you that much. That's my views of it, but we're going to talk about reparations. Oh yes. Okay, I'm going to just get to the bottom of these. Okay. 13 Empress. Okay. Oliver 2000, show me the white trash area where they put lead in the water like the whites did with blacks in Flint, Michigan. And that was a crime. Yeah, that kind of thing. I'm not gonna try to speak for you again, but I kind of am. Tell me if I'm right. I think what she's referencing is if that was an all-white neighborhood, that would have never happened. No bloody chance in hell. That's white privilege and that's systemic racism. They thought they could get away with it. So, Oliver, any facts to back that up? Okay. Typo. Okay. Mr. F.S. Black. Oliver, so the Dylan Roof killings weren't racially motivated? Oh, is that what he was saying? Oh, yeah, no. Our own FBI knows all the stats on white radicalized, racist. It's our own FBI does. It's only Trump that denies it. If you read the FBI's records, it's pretty clear. It's just okay, you can't just listen to what he says. He's not being honest. You have to do your own research, then try to put it together. I hope that helps a little bit. Learn social justice. White people did nothing for centuries. Slavery didn't bother them too much. Yeah. Well, bother them. They liked it. I mean, most of them. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. I mean, it kept going. So yeah, they were benefiting from it. And yeah. And a lot of times I'll say, there's no white saviors. We're way past that. We had our chance collectively. Sure, there were abolitionists and I read back about abolitionists that lived so long ago, and it made me really happy because I couldn't believe in my heart that somehow humans from here in 500 years, we've changed that much that now we know that's like sick and fucked up. And no, I'm not buying it. Evolution hasn't changed that much. Cruel is cruel. Give me a break. Okay. It was what they were doing and everybody mostly went for it. Okay. And it is what it is, but there were abolitionists back then too. So there were people who, and yeah, it was probably a lot harder than standing up nowadays because of the culture, but there were people who saw it and knew it was wrong and did something about it. Okay, so let me see. Yeah, I think that's what you mean by white people. Oliver, you're right. He was a racist, but don't know what that has to do with systemic white privilege. White privilege is, I'm not 100% sure what you're asking. White privilege is simply being born white into a society that values it more. We value whiteness more. Some of us value it more than others. Some of us, and there's a lot of implicit bias, but maybe re-ask that question because I'm not 100% sure what you mean. Okay. Let me see. Pat, Oliver, you're benefiting from your white privilege, and that's facts. And telling him that is great, but it's not going to change his heart until he gets it all the way. So you can say it's true over and over again, but from my experience working with white folks, it takes some time. You can say it's the truth, but they really need to kind of here's an example. So maybe throw out some examples for him about white privilege. Help me out, guys. We want to help him learn. Let me see. I don't know where to start, but throw in some examples for him. That would be amazing. Like, for example, have you ever been stopped jogging? You're wearing your jogging outfit and you're running through a neighborhood and you're stopped because you're a person who doesn't belong in that neighborhood. And if you're running, you're probably a thief. Have you ever been stopped going into your own damn house because you're fiddling with the keys and you're black and you can't get your key or whatever, you lost your key or whatever, and you look like you're burglarizing it? White people don't have that happen too often. Okay. Those are all kind of examples. they don't have to be that a police shoots you in the head or whatever because you're black. That's not. White privilege is the benefit of the doubt. And that doesn't seem like much, but sometimes you need the benefit of the doubt. You walk into a store and you're wearing the shirt that they sell. A lot of black people have security called because they must have put it on and walked out with it, right? And they're going to walk out with it. Not as much for white folks. You get the benefit of the doubt. That's what white privilege does. Now, sometimes it does a lot more, but I'm just trying to give examples. Okay, I'm gonna be quiet here. It's the benefit of the doubt. Okay. I have to scroll and scroll and scroll. Okay. Wow. Oh my goodness. Wow. I'm blabbing too much. There's too many questions and comments. Oh my gosh, I'm still not back. Okay. There's some good ones. Okay. Oliver. Okay. I'm not denying racism at all. And you're right, there is a correlation, but it is not because of skin color. It's not inherent. It's not inherent white privilege. It's not inherent. It's from culture to culture, of course. I mean, from culture to culture. I think that's what you mean. I'm not sure. Les, we love what you do. Thank you so much. Some people not so much, but thank you. Learning social justice. I'm a species trader because I'm for the ethical treatment of animals. Exactly. Well, I'm a race trader because I'm for the ethical treatment of all humans. We're all in the same race, but nobody cares about those details. Right. I totally get it. Oliver. So how can racism not be about color? Good question. Good question. It's about a false idea of superiority. I wish Dr. Cindy was here because she is so good with academics. Empress, listen carefully, Oliver. Okay. Mr. F. Examples of white privilege. Badge. Absolutely right. Oh my gosh, I'm so behind. I apologize. Let me try to catch up because we still have to see if you were correct for the reason that the young girls who are black and women are overrepresented missing and not in the media like they should be. And I want to tell you a little bit about why, because I want you to tell me what you think. Again, I wish this was Colin, because if it was Colin, then you guys could be blabbing up a storm and I would get what you're saying. Okay, learning social justice. It's more, to be technical, it's more white male privilege that is undisputable. I think it's all undisputable personally, but yeah, that's just my opinion. But I mean, the thing is, I'm sorry, the women who stand by those men, I think it's just everybody. I don't think that there's any, no one really dominates the market other than the fact that with men, there's the sexism thing, which is a whole nother privilege. It's like there's privileges on top of privileges, and it's just overwhelming. Let me see. But yeah, okay. Then you want to separate. Okay. Twist 13 numbers. Then we want to separate from you. We will leave you with your white something something, Oliver. Don't know what that means. I'm not 100% sure what that is. So I'm the naive white person. Mr. F.S. Black, Oliver. I believe Empress said that white shooters in general, not school shooters. Oh, okay. Yeah, there's a lot of stats on, and I don't really get this, but there seems to be certain crimes that white men do. And they're more likely to be represented in that. And I don't know why. It's definitely a sociological thing. I don't know why. It's kind of scary. But one of the theories that I was talking to with my friend is simply that white folks, and I don't know if people know a lot about this, white folks don't oftentimes don't associate themselves as white. We're not in a group. We're just the given. We are so born into this society where everyone else is different. We're just the given. We're not white. We don't. In the olden days, maybe people would be like, the Irish were over here, the Germans were over here. But then, since whiteness is made up, we switched it all over to make sure everybody's together in white in one big group so that we can all be, against anyone else who's not. And this is very purposeful stuff. But a lot of white folks, when you say white people, they go crazy. They do not want to hear you saying that. That's like an insult because they don't think of themselves as white. They don't have any like allegiance to other white people. It's just we're the people in power. It's just always been that way. So it's kind of a weird thing. Bets. White privilege is also the ability to live a life where you, the white institution, that control the media to the point where white people don't have to be bombarded by the news of Black suffering. Good point. Yeah, it kind of works both ways because on one hand, they don't present it enough. But on the other hand, with Trump, it's presented constantly. So I think that's kind of what you're saying. It's like we have a privilege of, okay, here, let me explain it a different way. And this might not be what you're trying to say. Okay, I'm on this show talking to people, okay, as an example of, okay, a white person survived talking about racism because I want people to learn it's okay, you'll be fine. I can go tomorrow and not talk about racism, not think about it, not think once about it, not go online, not go anywhere where I'm going to be reminded of it. I can pretend I don't even know what it is. I can take a break, okay? People who can't. They don't have that privilege of saying, you know what? I don't feel like fighting today. I don't feel like explaining today. I don't feel like being on guard today. I don't even want to talk about it today, and I'm not going to. They have to be aware, especially if their safety's, in jeopardy, which it definitely could be. So I hope that explains a little bit. I hope that helps a little bit. Once you add up learning social justice, once you add up all the privileges, white males have 100% more than anyone else. Yeah, they definitely have a lot. They definitely have a lot. And that is, the economic privilege really balances in there because economics is huge. And one of the reasons I think a lot of this is just my own, I haven't read it. I haven't, I think that white males may be doing some of these crimes in larger amounts because they are the chosen ones and the pressure is on them and they are not allowed to have or they don't have a group that they can associate with, like, we're as one. And that I'm just thinking that they feel like they're on their own because they don't consider themselves as like a common plight. Like maybe people who were marginalized and had cruel, horrible things done to them, maybe they kind of have a common plight and kind of a bond. I think white men are just, and there's a stigma about mental illness, and there's a stigma about showing your emotions when you're a man. And so this is just a guess. I have no idea. Okay. Let me see here. Okay, Oliver. These are college-educated and middle-class Black folks who are more privileged than many white people. What I'm saying is racism exists, but to think the color of your skin alone is what makes you privileged. Okay, what you're saying is there's so many different kinds of privilege that you have to factor in economic privilege, able privilege. Yes. But when it comes down to when you separate them out, you're saying there's tons of factors. Absolutely. Okay. Oprah Winfrey She went somewhere, and she's a very, very wealthy woman. She's famous. She has power, wealth, and prestige. Somebody tried to stop her from buying something because they said, oh no, we don't serve your kind. Okay. It didn't matter her economic privilege. She still didn't have, she's still to them a Black person. It didn't matter. And they looked down upon that. So does that kind of help? Those things do factor in. But when push comes to shove, if you're a police person, let's say you're a famous basketball player, for example, maybe you're a Black basketball player who's very famous. You're driving down the road. Maybe the police that pulls you over doesn't follow basketball. Maybe he's a little racist and he roughs you up. Okay. And he's, you know, kind of like a bad guy. It doesn't matter how wealthy you are then. So they all go together, but sometimes they also separate. I hope that explains. A good question. Oliver says you're wrong. I don't know who that's referring to. Miss Empress says, yes, I was referring to shooters in general. Social justice. No, you are wrong. Oh, must have been talking to you. There's no other group with more privileges than white males. Period. End of story. Do some research. Yeah. Well, white males do have it all in that sense. Okay. But sometimes, like I said, economic privilege is a big divider. Big divider. So, and also, remember, we're talking about whole systems and groups. We're not talking about individual. So some individuals who are white males might not have a ton of privilege in that regard, but overall, absolutely. So it can't be like kind of fighting over the details. It's in general, and the statistics show it, is white males do better. But then again, if you think about this, you guys, economic privilege is so prevalent in our system that all the studies are showing the best indicator of somebody getting through college has nothing to do with how smart they are. Nothing. Number one indicator is how wealthy your parents are. Okay. So in other words, our society is so kind of caught up in this capitalistic, we've kind of made it like a lifestyle, that brilliant people, okay, who are not wealthy don't make it through college as much as kind of not so smart people whose parents are wealthy. Like average or below, they make it through college more often than a brilliant, impoverished person. The stuff's strong, very strong. Okay. Oh, Bez, yes, Tweez, you are very correct. Okay, Tweez 13 Empress. Oliver, tell that to Bill Cosby compared with Harvey Weinstein. Yeah, tell that to Oprah when she went to Europe and as a billionaire and a white person racially abused her. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. You knew it. That's the case I was talking about. Oliver 2000, you're just looking at random pop culture events and biasly comparing it to others to form your opinion. Not sure who that's referring to. There are people who study this stuff. They get PhDs, they get doctoral degrees in it. This has been studied for decades. And the social science is real. They really do, it's become very advanced. So a lot of people look to real social science, and it's extremely obvious, a lot of this stuff. I don't think anyone here is inventing it. It's kind of known information to people who are in academia. And then it kind of floats down to people who aren't on social media and whatnot and gets convoluted and thrown all over the place. So you got to do your own research. Great points on the right. Great example. Bill Cosby, Harvey Weinstein. I mean, Weinstein's, don't even get me going there. Learn social justice. There's no amount of privilege you can add up for any group that would even come close to the amount of privilege white males have. Okay, I understand that's how you feel. White males are definitely at the top in most areas. Mr. F.S. Black, Oliver, have you ever been arrested because police didn't believe you really lived at your home and accused you of breaking in? That's an example. Henry Louis Gates did, and he's a black college professor. Yes. Okay. And a lot of people remember President Obama had one of the men who was high up in his administration as I can't remember what he did. He was an intern maybe, or he was pretty high up. He was like a paid intern, and he was moving in at night and to his own place. Police came. It's just ridiculous. It happens continuously. It's really, and it's now that we have video cameras, it's all over the place. Okay, I'm gonna have to skip a couple things here. Okay, I need to get cracking on this stuff. Okay, I'm gonna give the answers, and I'll try to go back to everybody. Okay. Yes, Pat, thank you. I will read that. Okay, there's a book called The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. It is really good, and it's an easy read in the sense that, like, you'll get it. It's not like you have to, like, it's like so high level that you're just, you know, it's an easy read. Pat, thank you. Best book I ever read. Okay, like in the sense of, like, for this kind of thing, you will totally get it if you read that. Thank you, Pat. Okay. And Oliver and, oh, Marco, hello. Welcome. I'm glad you're saying something. I haven't. African-American unemployment is twice that of what? Bingo. Yeah. And that's a fact. That's not like something that's made up. Yeah. Oliver, I was born in the projects with no parents. How am I to admit my privilege? Yeah. Okay. As a person who is in your position, you have less white privilege because of your economic status. It doesn't mean you don't have white privilege. You are not sharing in as much of it. Okay? Nothing you did wrong. It's just because you're not sharing in the economic privilege. Okay? And also you're not sharing in the having parents who are set in the home privilege. So you are an anomaly, unfortunately. You are not the norm. It's unfortunate. I mean, it's good that you're not the norm personally, but it's bad for you because you're an exception. And that's a really, really hard place to be and understand all this because you're like, excuse me, I did a show with Chris Smith and he will explain it. Oh, and you're in the UK. Ah, okay, Oliver, that explains everything. The UK and Australia have a very difficult time converting over to chattel slavery in America and understanding our history. We have a longer history in regards to, like, it's more recent. Very, very hard to compare the two. So I get what you're saying. Every person I've ever talked to from Europe and from like UK and from Australia, it's always been an issue. Like if I have a group and I have admins and people joining in and somebody will say something and I'll say, are you not from the US? And they'll go, yeah. And I'll be like, yeah, that's why. We have a very, very concentrated, more recent form of white. We didn't want to give it up. Okay. Some people actually believe that part of us separate, and I've read this is a theory, part of us separating from England was simply that they started to not want to have slavery and to make it illegal. And the people in the colonies were like, no way, we want our slavery. So, I mean, it was a book I read. But, so yeah, Okay. Well, you're an anomaly for the U.S. is what I meant. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead for the U.S. It's more of that. Right, Lauren. So if you know, because if you know the history of the U.S., it is, it was. Yeah, it's not your fault though, Oliver. I'm talking like people who like have PhDs. You have to get the culture. You have to get the culture in America. There is a culture here that is really prevalent. So it's not your fault. Thank you for telling me that though. The American Revolution was to maintain the slavery. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about, Bez. That's what some of these theories are saying, that it's to maintain it. That they saw that, we're out here on these plantations with slaves who are making us bucks. And back home in England, they want to stop us. A lot of people are saying that was a big reason. I don't know. I'm not a historian, but okay. I am going to read because it's almost bedtime and we have to get into the reparations stuff. We have to. Okay. So the reason the research that I read talked about, and I was dying to find out, why are our girls and our women, why are we doing this? 40% of the missing people are Black girls and women. Yet, Bez, that's funny. Bej. Oh, I'm like making up names now. Yet the percentage is 7% of the population. They're not getting name a Black girl or woman whose name is public right now, who everybody knows about, because we're all looking for her. We're not. We don't. We know the white girls' names that in all these cases, it's not right. Smiley culture. I don't even know what that is. Okay. I'm losing people. Okay, so lots of people gave reasons, and I will tell you the reasons. Number one, oopsie, media coverage. Probably like, duh. Media coverage is incredibly skewed. Some people whose families can't find them get extensive coverage over weeks and weeks and months, and some get nothing. The difference is so obvious that there's actually a term in social science for it. It's missing white woman syndrome. I kid you not, missing white woman syndrome is a term in social science, because if you are white and you are missing, you will be looked for. Okay. Scientists and media commentators give extensive media coverage, especially on television, to missing cases involving young, white, upper middle class women. Okay. The phenomenon is defined as Western media's undue focus on upper middle class white women who disappear. And I know the names of some that have and have been found. For Black people, I don't. And sampling of one. Oliver, I just don't think that privilege is intrinsically linked with skin tone. As I say, racism exists, and there is a correlation in the U.S., I guess, but I don't think it's good to stereotype. Yeah, these are generalizations. There's tons of privileges. They overlap. They convolute. They're very confusing. Twist. Oliver. It's not what Black males have to say about it, but look around the net, look up the articles, and oh, I forget it's. Okay. Kim, who owns the media? Personally, I don't know, but I know it's a conglomerate and they're white. Okay. Let me finish right here. Everybody's giving Oliver advice. Oh my goodness. Okay. Let me finish right here because I want to get to reparations before midnight. The second thing is socioeconomic is huge. That's what you guys said. Poor people are less valued. The background, socioeconomic background, conditions, resources available for recovery. If your parents are wealthy, they can quit work. They can go and spend their entire, every minute of every second and find you and help and look for you. If they're poor, no way. They don't have the resources. They can't pay private people. Yeah, I'm getting there, Pat. I'm getting there. Okay. The last thing is police response. And police response is absolutely out of control because they're not trained and their implicit bias. They don't know. It's, the training is poor. I will get there. I'm going to skip Iran. We can do that another time. And I will get right to reparations. Okay. A quick thing. Say whatever you want about reparations. Okay. And all of our internet isn't more reliable than actual living here. Right. True. Yeah, that's why you got to be in this culture. It's the bottom line is you got to live in this culture. And if you did, you totally get it. It's not pretty. Okay. 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 You guys talk amongst you. I will start. I will start with reparations. People who don't know what reparations are. Today, even more than 50 years after the civil rights movement, the Black American population on average has higher infant mortality rate, lower life expectancy, higher rates of unemployment, lower income, higher rates of imprisonment, much higher than the white population in general. It's not even close, okay? Yay for civil rights. We're not there, not even close, okay? And some argue that these problems are the legacy of slavery. And the legacy of slavery is caused by our nation's culture, which is kind of love our white supremacy. Here's the thing. Most white people in America haven't been educated that whiteness is a made-up concept, okay? They don't understand that this narrative of white supremacy was made up so that white people could feel more comfortable enslaving people who weren't white, So they don't get that race is a made-up human construct. They don't get that we're all related. They don't even know what melanin is, let alone the process of how it works to make your skin darker. They don't get it. So, but here's the thing. They think that when slavery ended, that everyone will, wahoo, yay, you all get equality. Well, that's just not how it went down, not even close. According to the historian Jim Downs, the end of slavery led to starvation and death of millions of Black Americans. The largest biological, he calls it in his book, the largest biological crisis of the 19th century, yet it is one that has been not investigated by contemporary historians. There's history we don't know about. He estimates in his book that 1 out of 4 people who are emancipated and allowed to finally be free died from starvation or disease. Whitewashed history, like the Devil's Punch Bowl, where there's an estimated 10 to 20,000 emancipated humans who were recaptured and put in a concentration camp at the bottom of a pit, and they died all in 1 year. They were recaptured. They were walking to the north. There's history we don't know. After the war, radical Republicans in Congress, and remember, the parties switched, okay? So the radical Republicans were the humanistic, okay? Passed a law requiring the confiscation of former Confederate property to provide the ex-slaves with 40 acres and a mule. In 1866, President Andrew Johnson vetoed the legislation. They were supposed to get some sort of reparation, okay? So after slavery, the state governments across the South instituted these black codes. And while Reconstruction was going on, 700 African-American men served in elected public office. Among them were 2 state senators and 14 House of Representatives. It was starting to go okay. But the problem was this happened because the federal military defeated the Confederacy and ensured the civil rights and protection. But when they left, it all went downhill. The withdrawal of the federal troops from the South marked a huge turning point where it was everything was pushed back. Black codes, Jim Crow, everything, just horrific conditions. There's a guy who wrote a book called Slavery by Another Name, or I think that's what it is. Yeah. Oh gosh, very, very good book. It's been a while. And it was the re-slavery. It was 77 or 88 years of re-slavery. Okay, I'm going to read the reparations comments, and then I have pros and cons. If you guys want to talk about some of the pros and cons, I've heard them all, I think. Okay, learning social justice. Anchor Soccer Mom, how about Burgess Owens' take on reparations? I do not know who that is, so you can tell us. Reparations is my lowest knowledge base. I know nothing practically. I mean, I know a little bit, but not enough to even be talking about it. That's why you guys need to jump in. Okay, Moppy, Dems and Republicans have something against reparations for blacks. Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing. It is a weird thing. It does seem that way, doesn't it? Something, I think any reparations given in the history of the U.S., and there are supposedly 4, were not given up without a fight. Our government and the elite do not want anyone to take their money, and they don't want to admit anything. And it's kind of interesting. This has been brought up and killed again and again, reparations. So it's not like this is a new concept. Like I was saying, the acres and the mule. I mean, people got that this wasn't fair. Let me see. Yeah, Pat says, okay, they'll fight tooth and nail and claw to keep blacks from getting reparations. I hate to say it, but the people who run our, the oligarchy of white folks who run our country, they are not going to give up without a fight. They are not going to give people their equality, and they are not going to give their reparations, because they like the status quo. They like what's happening. They don't want to give it up. They like where they're at. I mean, we got issues. Oh my gosh. Let me read everyone's stuff. Okay. Just see here. I'm going to try to be reparations. Oh my goodness. Okay. Got to the bottom here. Sorry, I'm missing some stuff here. Okay. Goodness gracious, I'm losing it, people. Okay, I have to find our spot. And I am not doing well finding it. Okay. Oh, there we are. Okay. Oliver. Okay, I'm going to skip the ones for Oliver because everyone can read those. I'm going to go to the reparations comments. Moppy, black people are going to get reparations regardless. I don't know what's going on. We are in such a bad spot right now with everything with Trump and his clan of incredibly racist folks. Okay. There's an equal playing field. They know that blacks will excel. So that is what Pat's saying this. Yeah. Pat says, if there's an equal playing field, they know that blacks will excel. So this is what they know. So this is why they keep from doing it. And part of that is a very interesting point. If you think about it, white supremacy from the very beginning of our nation, we've been doing everything in our freaking ability to oppress and marginalize black people in America. And guess what? They still make it, thrive, and fight through it. And so that's a good point, Pat. There are some serious white supremacist people that I always say, if the best thing you ever did was get born white, that's kind of a problem. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe Pat may be right. I don't know. It's definitely a possibility. Okay. Going for the reparations stuff. Not finding very many reparations things. Okay. Pat. This is where the fight begins. Reparations is a debt to be paid. It's something that is owed to the blacks in this country. Yeah. And again, people who were in Japanese internment camps were paid reparations. It wasn't easy, but they were. Some of the Native Americans had some reparations going on. There's 4 cases, and I was reading about them as the show was starting. Some of the pros of reparations are that it's a claim against the American government and society, which has continued from the start of slavery till today. Another pro for it, through slavery, African Americans were terribly wronged, obviously, and modern blacks were robbed of their inheritance and the ability to accumulate inheritance and wealth throughout years and years and years and years. So, I mean, it's the taking away of the ability to accumulate wealth in a capitalist economy, capitalist society for supposed to be for our economy. Seems like it's for everything. So they were not allowed to accumulate wealth. Everyone got it except black people. The system was designed to not let blacks excel. Yeah. I mean, it does kind of appear that way, doesn't it? And yet so many have. And so, Pat, maybe you're right. Definitely a point. If our society is ruled by a capitalist economy, the ability to accumulate wealth is imperative. There's Native American tribes were promised reparations only if they excommunicated the black natives of their tribes. Oh, I didn't know that. Tell us more. Get us the research. I did not know that. Here's another pro. I guess is a pro. Today, we have such rampant systemic racism in all of our systems, and the numbers show it. So I would hope that my big concern is this with reparations. I think whatever you think about reparations is fine, but how about we put an end to the systemic racism too? Because you see, reparations are one thing, but we're still, hi Jason, we're still doing it. We're still upholding our systemic racism in America. And in 2 or 3 more generations, we'll still be doing it. And reparations can only last so long. So my big point is, whereas reparations are not part of something that I have a say in as a white person, is not my place. I do have a say very much in that we need to fight systemic racism because the wealthiest elites in our nation are kicking our ass. Our middle class is almost gone. Okay? It's really, really bad, and it's gone fast. All right? So let me see. So I have questions for everybody. Questions. My question is this. Questions. Come here, little questions. Okay, here they are. How is the reparations that were paid by the U.S. government to the Sioux Indians for land that was illegally confiscated, how does that compare to blacks not being given reparations? They weren't given their mule. They weren't given their land. They had 12 years worth of some help from the government, but that all ended and the military left. And a lot of stuff went right back to, in name, it went back to slavery, basically. Pat, from 1862 to 1892, there was a report that showed how blacks learned faster than any other race. This is why the overseers didn't want blacks to continue to learn to read and write. They saw the rate. Here's the thing. There are brilliant, brilliant black people. And when they were forced into an enslaved status, and most people know this, I think, they were denied education. And that is also an accumulative effect. Like a lot of people in the US talk about the first generation to go to college. Well, guess what? They weren't even allowed to learn. Okay. So when you do that to a people, when you take away their culture, their language, their clothes, their everything, their life, their children, their families, their ability to learn, you are damaging them for generations to come. So reparations, social justice. In order to prosecute someone in court, you need a perpetrator. In all the other cases, there is a clear perpetrator, the federal government. Yeah, and part of it is, and that's what I said at the beginning, is that the government is the criminal, not the people here today, but the government did it. And not only did they just do that, they did all the other things, like they did having redlining for years and years, and the cruel redlining, and they've just, go look at my videos. I've done a video on every one of them practically, if you're not sure what I mean. But so it was our government. It's kind of interesting because I work for a company in China, and I talk to my clients a lot. Like I talk to them because a lot of them speak English, and they are very much aware of the difference between the people and the government. They speak of our government, and they don't hate our people for the most part. Okay. Yet in our country, when we speak of a nation that we don't like, we're not talking about their government. We're talking about the people. I think it would really be a good idea to consider who's really in charge in our country. Okay. Because it's not the people. Pat, mind you, Kim, the blacks were never dumb at all. Well, of course not. They had a language they spoke that they were deprived of. They were permitted to, they were not, well, yeah, that's what I just said, Pat, is that they were taken, their culture was taken, their language was taken. They weren't allowed to. They weren't, their culture, their language, their way of life, a lot of the people who were forced into a slave status were actually skilled people. They were skilled people. They had great skills. In fact, if you see some of the places that these white slave owners would force them to make their own house and make their own accommodations, and they'd make amazing accommodations. I mean, some of these people were very, very skilled. I mean, princesses and princes and people of royalty, and they didn't ask what your status was when they snatched you. I mean, so yeah, they were denied all these things. I didn't mean to indicate that they were dumb in any way. They were forced into ignorance. They could be killed or branded or tortured, or if they were caught reading, if they were caught learning to read. It was a big, it was huge. White folks knew that knowledge is power. So yeah, absolutely, Pat. Right. They had it stripped. They were stripped of this stuff. Moppy and Native Americans got reparations. The people who are in charge, majorities vote Yeah, here's the thing. The people who are in charge, okay, towards their two numbers, the people who are in charge, the majority, numerical majority who are white, are talking, wait, I lost you there, are responsible for the government you vote for. And that is actually not completely true right now. It used to be, but what's gone on lately, okay, let me explain. Okay. Over 70% of Americans in this nation, overall, everybody wants common sense gun laws. We don't have them. Okay. A huge percentage, 60 or 70, want universal health care. We don't have it. Okay. 50% of all people who declare bankruptcy do so because of medical bills. Way more than half the people in this nation want college to be affordable. Okay. We don't have it. So are we really getting represented, or are the companies and the lobbyists being represented? They're buying off our Congress people. So that's what I'm trying to say. When most of the nation wants something, it's bipartisan, and we don't have it, that's not really representing the people anymore. Our representatives are not representing it. Now, some of them are, but a lot of them aren't. And so it's turned into a buyout. You can just buy a politician. Corporations are now humans and can give money to politicians. So there's a lot. It's really bad. It's become corrupt completely. And I'm sure it always has been to some extent. But anyway, I see the stroke of midnight. And I know everybody has so much to say. And I want to question today's events. I want to know what you think about, is this just talk, what we're doing in the House committee about reparations? Are they just appeasing us all? I mean, what do you think? Learning social justice, you're so funny. You're adorable. I gotta get up in 6 hours. But like, is this just talk, or are they, I don't know. It seems like a really crazy thing with such an extremist in our government. I don't know. What do you guys think? Are they just playing us and, giving the cute little liberals, their time, their moment to speak? And is this just, will it be another 10 years, another 20 years? Systemic racism is out of control in this nation. And everybody listening right now does not need me to tell them that, because you know. And what I do with this show, with everything I do, I try to use my white privilege to help people have voices. It's not fair that people will listen to me and not a Black person living here. It's ridiculous. It's not fair that when I say something, somebody will listen more than the actual person living it. That's disgusting. That makes me sick. Okay? So if white folks would learn to take some racial responsibility, not to blame yourself, not to feel guilty, just to be human and care about your fellow humans and say, you know what? I was born into this, and this isn't right. This isn't liberty and justice for all, like our country's supposed to be. This is systemic racism. Mass incarceration, that's not justice. It's a crime against humanity. This nation needs to pull it together. I don't think we're going to make it. So my thing is simply this. I want to educate as many white folks as I can. It's not my place to educate Black people, brown people, Indigenous people. Who the hell am I? I'm a white person. It's not my place. It's not my place to ask them for emotional energy to be used to educate me. I need to educate myself so I can go educate other white folks. There is no reason that white folks can't be very, very good supporters and vote for humanism and not their own personal gain. People who voted for Trump, in my mind, sold their souls and the souls of their fellow humans for the chance at a few extra bucks. And look where it's gotten them. He's not for the little person. We all knew that. But these people have been fooled. And some people don't want racial responsibility. Well, you know what? It doesn't hurt as bad as you'd think. You got to get used to it. So anyway, I'm going to wrap up tonight and say that if you believe in what I'm trying to do and you like these kind of talk things, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and get your friends to subscribe too. The bigger audience I have, the more my stuff gets shown around. And it does get shown around. I see it on YouTube, and it's pretty cool because it gets to white folks who would never see it. So this is going to be kind of funny. The more you go like this and put emojis all over the place, the more you share, the better to spread the stuff. So please, if you believe like I do, that it is way, 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 way past time for white America to take racial responsibility, please join my channel and support it by watching my videos and send them to your friends. If you are a Black person and you are sick and tired of trying to get some white folks or somebody to get it, don't send them my video. Let me do the work. I have like 100+ videos on every subject. Some of them are sweet and darling. Some of them are in your face. Some of them are mad. Some of them are very proper and teaching. There's something for everybody. I'm sorry I didn't get to everybody's comments, but I cannot thank you enough. If you have a question or a comment, try to PM me, personal message me, and I will get back to you eventually. And don't ask Pat about how I get back to people. Oh my God, I have been inundated. I get about 200 a day. And I try to get to them, but I'm not that good. So I try. But get people to come onto YouTube. And if you have suggestions for videos you want me to make, tell me what you want. Tell me what I'm doing right. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. Be nice. And get your friends to come on, and especially white folks who need, don't give up on the white people. Okay? Don't give up on the white folks, please. So, all right. Thank you. And we'll see you next week, I hope. All right? And I appreciate you being here. So I'll see you next time. You guys can keep battling it out if you want to, but honestly, the UK, people from UK and Australia have a very, very hard time understanding our, I've seen it over the years. I kid you not. Okay, I could almost pinpoint it. Somebody who's not from living in this culture. It's just different. Okay, so trust me. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.